This is a lot.
I'm alive.
Eggs and basket.
Cheapest tickets in the world.
Yeah.
How do they fund it?
Well,
It's
it's unique where they're funded.
It's like everyone's asking at the moment, aren't they, about them and the others and the other ones. How are they going to fund all these things? It's like Huddersfield Giants.
Yeah, but they've got a rich benefactor.
They have.
But
We need some more Russians.
Who might be in Parliament?
he'll get Brexit done.
Who can?
We need some
That's what he
Russians.
said.
Get some Russians in. We need some Russians to invest in the rugby league.
Do we?
Yeah.
Ah,
The right kind of Russians, though, not the.
Not the ones who pulled out of New York.
I forgot about that.
It's above my head, this. Hello, welcome everyone. It's a bit cold in here, Phil. I know you've got heaters on. I'm a bit chilly.
You've got your stick
got
your
my
legs
body
between
warmer.
it.
Your legs between it. Legs won't fit in there. We are back again. Richard Shawright is back.
Yeah.
Were you here
I
last
was
week?
here last week, yeah.
He was here last week. I forget. They all merged into one.
People are complaining we're all late. It's like being on Sky. Oh, no. Come on now.
Come on.
We like Sky.
Phil Kaplan's here. 4020 out. When is it? Next week?
Goes to print on Sunday. It'll be early part of the week after.
Very good.
The
Very
first
good.
annual.
You're not doing a new subscription. Do I have to pay for that extra for that annual? Or what happens?
If you're a
Subscription
subscriber, you get you get
Yeah, but
extra.
you're not offering like an extra service for if you pay a bit more.
Well, I can offer you an extra service if you pay a bit more, but that would be
You know
negotiated
your
out.
magazine-
Is it
know,
a bespoke? Is it a bespoke issue?
Do you know your magazine? When it's not in season, does it shrink?
Funnily enough, it's the same.
You know what? If
number
I
of
bought some
pages.
fish and chips this week, I'd be disappointed if these two papers could wrap them up. They're that small. Honestly. No
I
legend
couldn't
this week.
possibly comment.
No legend this week. I'm only passing. I mean, it is very, very light.
There is a positive
You can't get blood out of a stone.
Is there a positive news?
There's not even a
just
letters
a
page
positive
in the
page?
Express. Which
we
shows
are,
up.
we're trying to fill 2 hours here, guys. Come on, we need something to talk about.
All those websites that just nick their stuff, as soon as Matt Shaw tweets on a Sunday night, is the big news that's happening, then all the other websites nick it off. What are they going to do?
I know.
You have to pay
Have to buy
money.
a
Obviously,
subscription.
have to pay money for the content.
They will. No, Scully, he's not banned, he's not done anything wrong, he's just not available today. So John Davison is here. Thought we'd get someone who speaks some common sense on the show. Are you well, John?
Yeah,
Good man.
too bad.
Good man. What have you been up to?
Second podcast of the day today, so recording one earlier. So Brian Carney. So.
Did he have anything interesting? I mean, he always has something interesting.
Yeah,
So is he,
yeah.
controversial headline.
That we'll see on other people's websites. In the next
Yeah,
one.
I don't want to spoil the because you've got to obviously watch this show and listen to this podcast first. But yeah, there was a few interesting things. A bit about Sonny Bill, Bradford, salary caps, Wayne Bennett. Yeah, so.
He's got to be a Bennett out man, Brian, hasn't
Well, I think he wrote a pretty stinging before the PNG game about how it was essentially, and he's obviously quite passionate as Great Britain and Ireland, and they just dropped Ireland before the whole thing. So he didn't mention about Wayne, but I think the way the whole tour was mishandled and
Shambles.
shambolic. Good word. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Right, Richard's been caught in listeners' views of you.
Yeah, I
Is
mean,
that
it's a
what's
dangerous
happening?
thing to do, because there's no letters page in the League Express. I thought we'd make up our
Well,
own.
because Sky hasn't been on, there's no one for anyone to complain
I
about.
know, and I've not written anything in for a while because I've been busy. I don't think I've written a letter since Easter.
There's a rumour going around that you're going to get a proper job.
I thought so.
No, okay.
So yeah, I've been asking. It's open forum night because because this is probably the last one for a while. Not
For a while?
Well, we're not here next week. We're not here next week.
New season starts in about 8 weeks.
We're not here next week. We're having a week off.
Not even that, is it? It's about 7.5, 8 weeks.
Because everyone else is
You're
giving
not
up
counting
podcasts.
Boxing Day.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
I'm working Boxing Day because I'd rather earn money than.
It's time and a half for Rich.
Yeah.
Collects his money.
So I just asked people, what do you want to talk about? Because it's the end. There's nothing in the papers. We could talk for 2 hours about your boy Caesar the geezer.
Well, all right.
I
We
think we
should
struggle
mention.
to 2 hours.
We should mention that.
They've made a big signing.
Turkish
They
international.
And Caesar is coming to Super League. He's on a big screw, John. He's on a few quid. Big move from the Giants. I'm going to put it out there. The Giants have made some good, very strong recruit move. They've got Gavitt. They've bought in
Kenny
Edwards,
Ash Goulding, and
Caesar.
there's one more.
And
And Trout.
Yeah.
On Trout, yeah.
They've lost Cruz Lehman, of course, has gone.
Which I don't think they wanted to lose him, but he wanted to go.
Yeah.
So they kind of lost.
They have strengthened their squad.
Yeah.
Or their team, I would say. I'm not sure.
Well, they've lost Ikehefo. and Frawley clearly won't be.
Yeah.
So that a lot of it has been replacement, of which I think is slightly higher quality.
Yeah, I think they've signed higher quality players.
Yeah.
But what I'd say
they're
is,
not increasing the squad size.
No, and that's the worry I've got about them. I think they need to do a Salford, if I'm honest, and that's i.e. keep their key players on the field all year long. What do you make of the signing this season? He's a big signing, isn't it, in fairness?
Yeah, no, he's a very good player. I mean, he helped Canberra to the grand final, and he's been established in the NRL. I think he's played over 130 games, Gold Coast and Canberra, and I think he had offers, or there was interest from Brisbane, so it's quite interesting. Brisbane Broncos, one of the biggest clubs in the NRL, Huddersfield. I mean, I think they've been after him for a while, so he took either some convincing or the numbers to work right. So I spoke to Simon Wilford on Thursday, I think it was, and obviously he was very excited, and he sort of stressed that this is Caesar's team now. They didn't have, his argument, they didn't have an experienced halfback last year. They had Frawley, who's 23, Ollie Russell, the other one whose name escapes me. But they didn't.
Well, they've got Gaskell.
Gaskell, but the other halfback there, I think apart from Gaskell, they're all fairly young, and I think Caesar's got to be the dominant playmaker. So essentially, a lot of pressure, I guess, on his shoulders to get him firing.
What do you make of it, Phil?
Well, another marquee signing, which I think can only be good for the sport. If we're going to have them, the more teams that use it, the better. Another Antipodean halfback, which again, of quality, absolutely no doubt, but it's that key position. If we're talking about England looking ahead to the 2021 World Cup, it's another side that has gone out and replaced an Antipodean with an Antipodean.
Halfback's playing the wing there, don't they, Phil?
Well, Ollie Russell, who I know Scully is a big fan of, down the pecking order a little bit. But my worry for Huddersfield is they just don't have a deep enough squad, and that if something were to happen to one of their key players, the depth isn't there to.
They've had that 1 year, didn't they, where they got rid of about 7 really good players, and they've never ever recovered, have they?
Yeah, they've always been behind numbers wise. And I think you're looking at squad numbers are now starting to be issued, and it's those numbers from sort of 20 to 30 that will tell you how a team's going to do, because there'll be times in the season when they've got to rely on those players. And
what I look at Huddersfield is they clearly spend their cap money, right? And they've got a lot of good young kids in that team. So who the hell earns all the money at Huddersfield? Where's all that money going? I'd love to know.
Well, I think they've publicly said too that they're investing in youth. That's the big.
Oh no! Look,
their academy is starting
to produce some quality talent.
I'd say Jermaine McGilvery obviously had a lot of interest after the World Cup 2 years ago. He's on a big earn.
I think Lee Gaskell will be we've come cheap.
Well, we know he's. We know
So,
he's not.
I think Huddersfield, with all due respect to them, our club has probably had to pay overs for certain players to convince them to come. Because they don't have the cachet of a Wigan, a St Helens, or a Leeds historically. So when you are looking overseas, I think that actually does pay a. If you've got, say, Catalans, you can say, you can live on the beach and whatever. I know for a lot of Australian players, that's.
You've not seen the canal in Huddersfield?
I have, yeah. I haven't seen anyone swimming.
The George Hotel. Why would you not?
That's what I was talking about that earlier today. Unfortunately, you can't get a pint there. You should break in and fix the keg up yourself.
Yes. We don't recommend.
But you were talking about squad numbers. I was actually talking about with someone else the other day. Toronto, obviously fantastic. But they've got 24 players. Even London and Salford had more players this year. I mean, unless they bring in some, that's.
What?
A lot of those players again, I say in due respect, are championship players.
Yeah.
They're not good enough. So.
Although, interestingly, someone said to me the other day that it was on the BBC National News that Liam Kay and who's the other one? It was just who signed
They've signed 10 of them.
No, they just signed two just signed a new deal the other day, Kay and another one, and that was on the National News. So that wouldn't have been on if they hadn't signed Sonny Bill Williams.
No.
They have those signed
Brad
Singleton from Leeds.
He's a good player.
Interesting interview coming out today. Clearly, he'd met the end of the line at Leeds for one reason or another, whether that were his own reason. I mean, I think he's been quite loyal to Leeds, because I think he could have said an awful lot more. Because he said that he lost his appetite or whatever I wonder if that coincided when the time that basically Sidfield told him he wasn't going to play or they wanted rid of him, because we know for a fact he was being hawked around all the time.
Was he one of those players that Furner said?
Yeah, I know he's offered to 2 or 3 clubs, so they were trying to get rid of him. So, you know, it's a move that fits for everyone. I thought he was quite fair on Leeds. I thought he could have put the boot in if he'd have wanted to. You know.
I think again it tells you a little bit about that Dave Furner interim. That there was a parallel, we said at the time, to the way Brian Clough came in at Leeds United and I'm going to change everything overnight. And
you've won everything by cheating, Phil.
Clearly it didn't.
Well, you have.
Sorry, absolutely.
Forward passes all the time.
Passes.
Quite watching the NFL.
Yeah.
Oh, that Miami Dolphins touchdown last night.
Oh, wonderful.
Wonderful. Exciting. There was even a lateral pass later on in the night. I can't remember who scored it. It might have been
They pass the ball once and he gets excited.
Yeah, but it was a kicker that passed it to the kicker.
How hard is it?
Impressive.
Imagine if a prop did it. That kind of thing.
Was it a forward pass?
Yeah. So it was like watching that.
And there was one though where they scored from a backward pass. That was exciting. So we've been asking people questions. Although someone did say to my computer crashes, Tim, I think it was on Facebook. Someone on Facebook said Toronto were 5 tons to be relegated. We were asked.
I don't think they'll be relegated, but if they start the season with 24 players, and if they get a few.
Well, if you actually analyse the squad, look, it sounds really horrible. We've obviously signed a magnificent player, Sonny Bill Williams.
But he's not going to win your games single-handedly.
That's exactly the point I'm going to make. How many games is he going to win?
He's not Cameron Smith.
No, he's not going to win you an awful lot of games.
No.
And I look at that team, and I did watch a lot of it last year in the Championship. Very good at that level, no doubting about that. With some absolute quality added in, the likes of Latelli and Stanley and whatever else. But I'm looking at the half-backs. Josh McCrone signed a new deal.
That's where I thought
Is he good enough? Is he good enough at Super League level? Joe Mellor, all right, he's always played in a team that's been up against it, and he's had a lot of injuries. But are those two?
Yeah, I think McCrone is good enough, whether he performs or not.
Is he good enough? Is he quick
enough? Well, you mentioned Chase Stanley. I mean, he's not someone I would scream. He didn't have a stellar NRL career.
I just looked at what I saw Toronto last year was that when Wilkin played well, they played well. If Wilkin
and he is one of their best players.
They didn't play
I think
well.
Gareth O'Brien's a good player.
Magnificent player.
And he is Super League.
But he's not going to get the time and space that he got in the Championship.
I would have thought they would have signed a half-back.
They could sign Jared Sammons. He's available. He knows the Greater Manchester area.
He's not. It's in the paper.
They could sign Richie Miner.
Yeah.
Somebody will be desperate.
They could keep Ryan Brearley, but they're not.
Why don't they? I was saying, OKR are going to. OKR trying to emulate Wayne Bennett's side and have as many half-backs in the squad as they could. About 12 now.
I think Tony Smith's going to do the 2017 Championship. Jordan Abdul, Jamie Ellis got him up.
Is that the
dream team?
The dream team.
The biggest news story in rugby league this weekend.
Well, you could have paid for that, you know. Could have paid for it.
I'm going to get told off now.
So yeah, he's going to Jamie Ellis leaving Cass to go to OKR.
Here's my reaction.
I don't know.
I know there's a few OKR fans who aren't too.
Well,
pleased
one of our
inspired.
people.
It's not Sid.
No, it wasn't Sid. Sean did ask if Guy would like to change his predictions about the Giants. Well, he did go very early, didn't he, on his predictions?
Well, there's a surprise.
Happy Super League Robin
prediction wrong.
said
You wouldn't pay for that.
OKR signing of Ellis, not a very happy Robin. So his name is Happy Super League Robin.
Well, you'll be changing that next year, mate, I'll tell you. Happy Championship. In fact, do it now. Save yourself the hassle. You won't have to remember to do it then, will you?
Yeah, Sid actually did send in a very funny tweet. But
did he?
One of those not for...
not for broadcast.
Well, it's not offensive or anything, but you know.
Did it make you laugh? Can you get it up? I'll have a look.
Yeah. David asked about Toronto, about the salary cap and an overseas allowance play because they want to sign Latrell Mitchell apparently.
Come on, that's absolute bollocks. I mean,
whoa, not by the balls now. Why is it called by the balls, not by the bollocks?
I mean, you can talk about signing every manner of player, but there actually has to be some foundation to it. They don't have a quota spot. They can't sign him. They don't have a marquee spot, so they can't sign him. And he's not come from rugby union, so we'd include on the cap. So
which is why
again
we need dispensation.
Yeah, but I'm sure they'd like to sign lots of people, but there's got to be some sort of reality, some truth to some of this.
It's good to be linked with Latrell.
Well, he's been linked with everyone. He's been linked with a Wallaby. Like, his agent is having an absolute mad. His reputation is just going down.
How has he gone from being a part of a grand final winning team,
back-to-back grand finals,
and looking like he is the next Greg Inglis?
But what's the story of
it? To basically being on the outer.
I haven't followed it extremely closely, but from what I've read, obviously the Roosters have got Boyd Corner, they've just had Cooper Cronk, James Tedesco. They haven't got a lot of money that they can give him, and he's probably $1 million, £500,000 player. He also, I think, he wants to play fullback because centres traditionally in NRL don't get paid the big bucks. Fullbacks do, halfbacks do, hookers. James Tedesco is probably the best player in the world. They ain't gonna move him.
And so I think it's Roger too without a shame.
Well, yeah, he's pretty damn good. You could probably make a very good case for he is the best player in the world. So I think he's gone, well, I want more money, and there are a lot of clubs who will probably give him more. But the way he's manager, I think he's fallen out with his old manager, talking about going to rugby union, Gold Coast, whatever. His reputation's kind of just getting absolutely slammed. Yeah.
Well, if he goes to the Queensland Reds, he might get on the next episode of Michael Portillo's Great Australian Train Rides.
We watched that last night and went, you're going to do a big story on rugby in Queensland. I'm at Ballymore Oval. Nobody cared.
Mary's in with the conspiracies.
Didn't mention state of origin.
I don't.
It's the only thing they care about in Queensland.
Good old Xavier.
That and cyclones. Cantos.
Yeah, Mary's been on with the conspiracy because Tim was obviously talking about Toronto being relegated. Mary says the RFL won't let it happen. Well, it's not their decision anymore. It is Super League, so Robert Elson get on knocking on his door, Mary.
So Robert Elson will go from not really wanting them in the first place to
not
really wanting them out in the second place.
Good old Bob.
Well, again. All right, let's fast forward to the end of the season.
Well, we've been
and
asking
there's a game that Toronto need to win to stay up against a team that have got nothing to play. I don't know who they play. I'm just speaking devil's advocate. And the thing is, well, if they stay up, all the clubs get an extra $100 grand. All right, okay.
As long as they're not owned by the same person as owns another club, we're all right, are we? Dom did ask, where do we see the state of the game in 12 months' time? I've got a feeling the answer is probably the same.
You know what, Dom? We started, what is this, year 6, year 5?
We started in
certainly 5.5. Yeah, so 5 years we've been doing this show, right? And nothing off the field changes. Nothing has changed. Apart from Toronto coming in, nothing else has changed, has it?
I don't think we're going to see anything drastic before the next TV negotiation, which might focus minds if they've got less money to play with, or if a broadcaster says we demand X, Y or Z as part of the deal. I suspect that it's going to be as you were in terms of seasoning. My worry, we've got a World Cup coming up in 2021. So at the end of this season, we're into that final furlong leading up to the World Cup. Everybody's telling us, irrespective of who runs that, whether it's the RFL, Super League, IRL, that this World Cup in 2021, alongside the television deal, is the most important thing for the sport in terms of its visibility and profile. You would think that for the 2021 season, we would make some adjustments to give England the best possible chance of winning the World Cup.
Smart.
Like, shortening the season, even if it's a one-off.
Having a good mid-season game.
You'd be announcing it now that, we're not necessarily relegating anybody, we may or may not be, but what we are doing is we are having less games in 2021 because we want to give England and ideally, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, the best possibility of winning a World Cup, raising the profile of the sport, going into a broadcast negotiation on an absolute high, but we won't.
Phil, as Ralph Rimmer told you the other week, it's not the RFL's job to grow rugby league or help rugby league in Scotland, Ireland or Wales.
No,
even though it was previously.
Who asked that question?
I think Mr. Kaplan did, yeah. And apparently it's the Rugby League European Foundation, and then as you counted, they have no money.
Well, they're relying on money. Never mind.
Perhaps if Nigel Wood hadn't cut the development money in Scotland and Wales 6 or 7 years, they might be a bit stronger.
I just don't think anything will change. I mean, teams might be successful one year and less successful the next, but the game itself won't look a hell of a lot different in a year's time. I mean, if Sonny Bill Williams has taken Toronto to win the grand final,
that would be
that would be a hell of a story, and we'd all hold our hands up and say, greatest bit of recruitment ever. But I can see them coming 8th in their first year in Super League, and that putting pressure on some teams that were towards the bottom last year. But other than that, I can't see anything change.
Do you know what's happening with their stadium, Phil? Because I think I read somewhere that they doubled their season tickets, but it's only sort of limited at about 10,000, isn't it?
I think it's 10,000 sitting down. I think if you add in the people that stand in the beer tents, it's about 12.
Oh, is it the old? Just let them come in, health and safety. But are they looking at another ground, or because that's quite a big issue for them?
They talked about another ground
because they don't own that ground, so they can't do anything. Which is why they can't play early in the year. It's got nothing to do with the winner. It's because they're not allowed to play there. So they don't own it. Another spin.
Where does the football team play? Why can't they play where the football team plays? I don't know.
Toronto FC, they play.
They've got a 30,000 capacity still. Right? So it's like, do we go for?
There's no room for beer garden there.
Yeah, I think the idea of keeping it packed and small is
a
good idea. But when you can't play the first 3 months of the season, it's not a good look, is it?
Do you remember last year we spoke about celebrity endorsement? Well, Martin O'Neill was the name we mentioned last week, and he's been on.
He was, yeah.
Guys, what are you on about? Of course it's going to change. There's 5 seconds coming off the shot clock.
Although the stats that told...
No, we should ask that.
Should we ask
stats
that I read out brilliantly on this programme last week.
Can I just say, can I take credit? Because I'm actually the one who caused the... It was me asking the question. I had a bit of a tip-off that perhaps the stats were wrong. And I asked the question, and
who did you ask the question of, and what was the response?
I asked the question of the media team, and it was, "We'll get back to you." And then the next day it was, "Yeah, they were wrong." Blah blah blah.
But they didn't put out a statement, did they?
Yeah, no. Then they put out the statement admitting that, which was a bit annoying because I would have had the exclusive.
Did they actually put out a statement?
Yeah, I think there was a press release.
I thought they just
maybe
whoever asked, they just said just quietly mentioned that we got that wrong.
Which is a bit. It's not a great look, is it?
And apparently it's still not right.
No.
Yeah, there seems to be a bit of doubt about that. Yeah.
But
it was almost. Is that not just like? You've knocked 5 seconds off, great, because we've just seen that players are wasting a bit of time, so we just want to speed it up. Instead of trying to take great acclaim for what is a routine decision.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen it.
We're trying to create news of something that's not really.
It's a chicken coming home to roost, because the shot clock, once you introduced it over here, should have been the same time as the shot clock in the NRL.
At least if it all goes wrong, then we know that Super League can employ the Prime Minister as their head of media and spin and lies.
Damn lies and statistics.
Yeah, that's how it works. Lots and lots of people got in touch throughout the day with various things. So obviously we don't think anything's going to change in the next 12 months, which is typical. Gary says, how to increase the attendance at next year's Challenge Cup final? One answer, and we like people who give solutions. Maybe to get a pro player to go back to his community club and help run a trip down to Wembley with the young players and their parents. Obviously we had the concern last year with the crowd, and they brought in the 1895 Cup final, of which we know 2 teams at least aren't playing.
Not mandatory.
We know London Toulouse aren't, but there were teams last year who didn't enter. Coventry didn't enter, did they? And was it one of the Welsh clubs or London Scholars? We don't know if they're in or not. We assume they're in. I don't know. Not that it really matters.
Well, it does matter.
It does matter if it's going to be a bona fide competition.
Unless the Yorkshire Cup as well. But anyway.
Southampton.
Yeah, remember that.
Did Andrew Chalmers take it home with him to New Zealand?
We've been melted down. Find out. Yeah. So how can we increase the Challenge Cup final with technique?
It's going to be interesting because a lot of people were complaining at the time of year it was. So it's been changed now, hasn't it?
So that's one excuse.
So that's one excuse gone. The next new excuse, so it's in the school holidays. Is it July?
It's only the very first week of the school holidays.
So it's in the school holidays, so 50,000 people that were going to go won't go now. Yeah. What do they do? I was a fan of the double header. We watched the double header. Got it in the wrong order, but we know there were reasons behind that, so we're prepared to say, all right, then
for a year, we're prepared. But I think if it's the same next year, then somebody's dropped one.
Yeah.
The obvious time to have it is the Maybank holiday. So they brought it back to July. It's almost again a bit of a halfway house. It's like you said, we needed to move it. We've negotiated with the BBC to move it. Who wanted it moved? They could see that August.
How much do they pay for it again?
An undisclosed fee.
Yes, has that been announced?
Sport with no money gets no money. Right, okay.
I'm not sure that's come out yet.
No, but that's a fair point, isn't it?
Yeah.
If they want it moving, right, you
Yeah.
are paying for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, when you pay for it, that show that you put on a Monday in whatever it is, Grampian or whatever you want it on, we want it on at 7 o'clock on BBC Two. And if you're not putting it on, we've got it on ITV. Or Ralph with his connections at Channel 4, he'll be got to Channel 4.
Well, they ring the Hearns, so just get
Ring
me a
the
deal with
Hearns.
Channel 4.
Hello,
Go for
hello
a
to all
storm.
our viewers
Go
in the
for a storm
Grampian
with it.
region this evening. Hello.
But I still think it's slightly in the wrong place. That it needs to be, the early rounds need to be pre-season to give some meaning to pre-season.
No, I'm not having that. No,
You play the first 2 or 3 rounds of the cup before you play your league.
So for some clubs, their season is over before the season has started.
Well, it depends how you want to use that period. You can still arrange games against other clubs that have been knocked out, but actually, I think you have your first 2 or 3 rounds before you start your league programme, and then you have your final in May on a bank holiday weekend. Kids can go, clubs can go. It's easy for them.
Is that rounds as they are now, whereby the big boys come in later?
Well,
or
you
is
see,
it
again,
is it
that's
all
another
in?
thing. Why do people not feel that the Challenge Cup is like the FA Cup used to be? For that very reason, that there isn't the romance anymore. If you're going to whittle it down to
You can't have
top
romance
teams.
when you've got
No,
45 games. though.
it's seeded though, isn't it?
Yeah,
You
but
know.
I agree with you, Phil. Like you've got, it's a bad example, but Bradford last season they played 9 friendlies.
6, I think it was.
Yeah, and then you've got all the league games and the Challenge Cup, and probably the Challenge Cup are the biggest games for Bradford. But if you're a Bradford, unless you're a hardcore fan, you're going to go every week, which is a small minority.
But it's getting smaller.
Exactly.
They're back.
So maybe bring some meaning into some of those early season
Is
games.
that not? The Yorkshire Cup and the Lancashire. I think that would have been the one. I think that would have been the way to do that. I do.
I think we need less games, not.
No, but you put it on the clubs. If Cass want to play their under-18s, they do what they want, or leagues or whatever.
I just
Or if you
think
want to win it, you win it. But make it worth winning, and they'll win. They'll want to win it, won't they?
the thing that we've probably missed here is that we definitely need the regular league season to start later.
Yeah.
And it's how you fill that gap at the beginning. And I think, the early rounds of the
Why do you
Challenge
have to
Cup.
fill the gap? Why do you have to?
Well, clubs will tell you because they need the money. But I think if you're going to bring the Challenge Cup to the point where you get a lot more people there for the final, you have to start it early.
That's a good point that Mark makes, though. Like, leave people waiting a little bit
Oh,
longer, and then you build
absolutely.
the anticipation.
Yeah,
Why do we
that
have
is
to
one
do
of the
it?
reasons.
Why do we
Well,
have to?
you could still have it in February, couldn't you? If you're not starting the
Still
league
too
season
early
to the
for
end
me.
of March.
I'm with you, March. Just start in March. Have less games.
Less games would enable you to start the league season later, but I just think you bring the Challenge Cup forward a bit further to its
We
traditional
used to
slot.
have it though, didn't we? In the,
Traditional
it had a
slot.
couple of years when
It was like the week after the
before the beginning of the
Mhm.
season, and it just I don't like that. I don't. For some clubs that can't win Super League, if you're losing the cup, your season's over. Your season is over.
I'd completely forgotten that they were going to bring the county cups back, having scrapped them in 1992, but have them as optional, and everyone opted out of it, so they didn't bother. Open Rugby, December 1992, Leeds on the front. Even though, looking at the league table, Leeds below Wakefield in the bottom 3 of Division 1. And
Wakefield were 4th from bottom.
I mean, we were crap at the start of that season. We only won the Yorkshire Cup and didn't know nothing in the league until we beat Leeds.
Halifax were 5th. Were that under Big Nige?
No, it must have been before then. Bradford were 4th, but which Bradford?
They were Northern then,
Yeah,
weren't they?
yeah.
92. Were they?
Everything's northern.
I think so.
But it's interesting. You mentioned the Super League, Sean. It is a big bugbear on this programme. They've got the argument is the BBC should not be. We should not rely on the BBC to promote the sport, and that's
Yeah,
fair
fair
enough.
point. It's not their job.
So the Women's Super League show, which they show nationwide, despite the fact the Women's Super League of 12 teams has no team from the North East, and no team from Cumbria, and no team from Yorkshire. All places where the Super League show, I think, is shown, but the Women's Super League shows on all over the country, despite the fact there are not any teams in that area. So what's the justification?
Well,
they can't justify it, even if they go to the all-party parliamentary rugby league
As Adam
shindig.
Pearson will tell you, that women's football and women's cricket are bigger than rugby league now.
Well, they may well be.
Direct
Well,
quote.
the attendance figures don't bear that out, though.
No,
Which,
No, they don't.
that's his
Which-
opinion.
And you know, you can have as many.
They're a bigger threat because they're more forward.
I'm not sure about women's cricket. I think women's football.
What's the depth of women's football? Because I'm sure I saw a result this
11-1.
weekend.
Yeah. Well,
11-1.
that's my
11-1.
concern. That's my concern about the women's Super League
Sounds
next
like
year.
Warrington v Hull.
That's my concern about women's Super League next year is having more clubs in there.
No, I think you've got. Yeah, it might
in rugby league.
It might do.
Oh,
It might
massively.
do.
I think the show. What was it? Probably a month or more ago with Danica. I remember I was listening to it on the bus in Auckland when I was heading out to the Great Britain training, and she was saying about the gap from the last World Cup, and having seen the Nines and the women's, the Silver Ferns and the Gillaroos, I think while there has been growth in the women's game in England, I think they're in for a rude awakening come 2021.
And again,
You think then
results.
maybe then they should, like there is in the NRL, just before 5.
Yeah,
elite
I think
teams,
you concentrate.
the club teams.
Your
playing
hothouse,
that.
the best players against each other.
Yeah.
So probably 5 clubs, maybe, or 6. I guess I don't know what the magic number is, but having how many is there now? There's 2 divisions.
Well, there's 8, and it's going to be
Yeah.
10.
I mean, it's a bit like having 3 divisions in the men's game where there's not enough good players, you know, to prop that up. I think if you had 5, then maybe you could actually pay some of the players, or pay them a little bit, not full time, and that way you're actually going to encourage. Because now we've already got a couple who are looking to go to cricket or get poached by rugby union. A few of the Leeds girls.
This is where we go back to some of the questions, and Paul's talking about TV deals, and we look back at the Our League app last year when they pick the games they want to show. I don't know why they bothered showing those England community games versus the New South Wales country where they've been stuffed on both occasions, and there isn't the explanation that people just see the result and go, God, England are crap, not knowing it's not.
Yeah.
They chose to show Wakefield versus Wigan in the Women's Super League, which was a game which was no disrespect to Wakefield, but when you cover the team enough.
Yeah, well, it's interesting.
It's
it's
foregone
interesting
conclusion,
because as you know, we were at the forefront of having women's
we are the rights
on the thing.
Have we ever given the rights back? Or are we still
No, we were at the forefront of it. And what I was told when we were looking to do another deal and do more of the Women's Super League is that they wouldn't want to show games that would be lopsided because of the impact and the perception it would give out to other people. So they were aware of that then. So what's changed now? What's changed now is
the need for content.
they've got some cameras and they just want to film everything.
If
Absolutely everything.
I would not show any games apart from, and this sounds completely, if I were the governing body, not the clubs themselves, so this completely goes against everything that I should say, I would only show the likes of Wigan and Saints and Leeds and Castle and whoever else is on the fringe of that, because those are games you can sell to the general public. Because the problem with women's football, the problem women's football has got or has had, is the perception that it's crap and it's not as good as the men. And if you show games that live up to that, the problem with an 11-1 scoreline is those are 2 teams in the same division. You can say, well, Southampton, Leicester the week before, that's true. No one criticises men's football in the way they want to kick women's sport. If you give people a goal, they can score an open goal. And we need to concentrate on showing the very best of what we've got, and not. It's difficult because I've commentated on the Wakefield games for most of the end of last season. I'm not saying they shouldn't be shown, but I'm saying to a wider audience, you need to show the best. That's why I don't understand why we show these League One games.
You mentioned the Silver Ferns and the Gillaroos. Those 4 teams encompass both of those nations. So
the Warriors.
The Warriors have a team, so everyone who's in the New Zealand setup is playing in this rarefied atmosphere. They've got
and they've also got
state of origin.
They've also got state of origin.
Which they've been really clever with that. They've only got 1 game so far. So 1 game series.
15,000 in North Sydney, didn't they? This year?
But they haven't tried again to say, look, we'll move it to 3 games straight away. It's like, let's just have 1 and make it really meaningful. And
as opposed to just letting every club in and the standard just goes.
Which again goes back.
There is that obsession with that in British sport.
Well, that goes back to what needs to change.
Promotion, relegation, and everyone has a chance to.
What needs to change is we need less teams at elite level, whether that be men or women.
Of higher intensity competition.
So that the cream comes more to the top.
Well, I guess we will find out in 2 years. I mean, if England make the final, win the tournament, then I'll be very wrong. But the signs at the moment, and also when someone like Danica, who's played at that level, says it, I'm more inclined to believe it than.
Well, exactly.
If England do, that will be because more of their players have played in the NRL.
But that's none of them. haven't they?
No, I mean England men.
Oh, sorry, I meant England women, but yeah.
The women, I think, know now that...
Oh, we've given up on the men after the tour. Not happening.
No.
I think we need to be realistic about the women as well and say that it's a home tour, and you'd hope that the crowds will get behind them, but they will be a fair way behind Australia and New Zealand when it starts.
Here's a couple of points from Gary. One is they should bring back Rugby League Raw Scrum Down, and we'll come to that in a moment. But he also interestingly says, and this ties into something that we noticed last week on the Our League app. He says, and this is just Gary, he's not from anyone else, so it could be wrong, it could be right, got no reason to doubt Gary. Witness will be announcing soon that all of their games will be shown on the Our League app from Gary the Viking. Why did the Our League app have their third kit launch on there last week?
Who's paying for that?
Now again, this could be correct or not correct. It's just Gary throwing it into the ether.
All right, we'll build on that then, because on TalkSport, Simon Jordan this week said that the Premier League basically should set up their own TV channel and do
which is what the NRL's looking to do,
and do away with Sky.
Which is what I think the NFL, don't the NFL or one of the big American sports?
Well, there is. You can buy an NFL Game Pass where you can watch every game on the NFL,
and you can do that with the NRL now.
Yeah. But what if Super League did that? Would it be?
I don't think.
No, but what I mean is, if you said to every rugby league fan, you can watch every Super League game every weekend on Sky or wherever it is, and it'll cost you £20 a month.
Yeah.
You can buy. You don't have to buy all the Sky thing. You can just buy Sky.
I think you get a lot of people buying it, but the problem with that is this, and obviously rugby union's kind of done that with the England games outside the Six Nations, and cricket has, arguably to its detriment. Is the sport big enough to just sort of tuck it away to that 100,000 who will pay? Do you know what I mean? Surely the bigger events, because obviously Sky's penetration is what, 40% of the country? I'm not sure, 50%.
The problem is production cost.
Yes.
Because if you're the NRL and you've got a huge war chest of cash, you can employ the number of cameramen and the mixing desks and everything you need to put out.
Make it look professional, make it look cutting edge.
We don't have that.
We certainly don't in the studio. And that's a point going back to Paul, who sent us a message this morning about TV deals. Why can't we let terrestrial TV show League One for free? Also, should we be dependent on Sky TV money? We existed before Sky. Now it seems they're our lifetime. The problem with the League One for free thing is A, the cost of production, and B, I don't think any TV channels are interested in the product.
What's the average attendance in the League One going?
I'd say it'd be below that.
The thing we need to put on terrestrial TV is the elite product.
Yeah.
But we also need the money from the exclusivity of Sky.
We are a big minority sport, and like a lot of other big minority sports, we cannot survive without Sky, and that's just the world we live in, whether we like it or not.
The answer, who was it who asked that question?
Paul.
Well, Paul, where does your team get £2 million from if you say we don't take Sky? And this is the argument when you moan about teams playing on a Thursday. Well, don't take the money then and go part-time and play in the Championship. Because that's where you'll have to go.
Before Sky, wasn't there 2 teams that were full-time and that was it?
Well, that's why
there was one team that went full-time and it cost their ground. There were 2 other teams that tried to follow them that very nearly went bankrupt.
So do we want to go back to complete semi-pro?
And you think you're losing players
the standard's bad now.
So you go, right, we're pulling the Sky or the telly money, we haven't got that anymore.
And I think we've got to be realistic about why would somebody want something for free. They wouldn't if it was poor quality.
No.
That's the problem. That terrestrial...
And there's no demand for it in live. There's not going to be a demand for it on TV.
They're not queuing up. Yeah. The Rugby League Raw thing is interesting. I think we've mentioned it before a few times. That wasn't so much a show about rugby league. That was inside a dressing room. That was miking up people that don't. If you like sport, you would have liked Rugby League Raw. You got to know some of the characters. You got to see it, down and dirty in the dressing room, and that was drama more than sport. It just so happened that we were the sport that were progressive enough to let them in, and it was an award-winning programme. But I don't think anybody truly cared outside of rugby league fans who was winning the game.
That's all.
They wanted to see a coach going at half-time with his team losing, throwing teacups.
That's all. Amazon, Man City, All Blacks, Netflix. That's
Toronto
Juventus. Apparently David Argyle's in Hollywood.
It goes back to a point I've mentioned plenty of times on the program about the perception of rugby league and how we present ourselves. And rugby league raw works to our audience. Does that sell us to a wider audience? Probably not. And the same with what other people have tried in the past.
The thing with rugby league raw is you wouldn't have got that access at the elite level. It worked because it was down in the lower reaches, and clubs were very, very grateful for any kind of publicity. Players, managers, coaches were all very open to.
Yeah.
And
the
it
world's
was
changed
really,
too. I
really
don't
well
think they
edited.
give you that access now.
It was really well edited to the point where it became an entertainment program.
And again, that relies on talented people and talented filmmakers, and they cost money. And that's where the problem. Here's going back to the R League app thing.
Well, apparently Super League has spent loads of money on films no one's seen.
I'll tell you what, they could do worse than employ whoever did the World Cup draw film.
That's because the PR people who are doing the World Cup are good at what they do.
That was excellent.
Yeah,
I think we all saw that and went.
I was at Old Trafford, Phil. I was there. I was the first to see it. Yeah.
It was good.
It was they're doing a fantastic job. I mean, I'm cynical about a lot of things, and I think rightly so. But the
you
the World
that
Cup,
word perception. The perception is it's been well run and it's going to be a success, and that's the perception of it because it's professionally done.
Oh, it's been great. The
And
access,
actually,
John Dutton there talking with journalists, Nigel Woods over there not talking to journalists at the same event. The 2020, and all the signs are that it's going to be a success. They're aiming to be the biggest and best
but they
World Cup
turned
since
a
54.
potential negative into a positive. So whereas Super League issuing the shot clock's been the greatest thing we've ever had, oops, please don't look at the facts. The World Cup couldn't do the draw on the day they said they were going to do it. It was supposed to be 2 years out. We're doing the draw now for whatever reason. All this
Apparently, there's a special
it's
event.
now going to be
location.
16th of January at the most iconic venue you can think of.
Yeah.
But they must
That's
here. Getting the padlock over.
Bring a lad in, you like to get over the wall again.
They turned that into a positive by still having a media event, still making people available, and putting out a video where, I don't know about you, I've watched it about 6 times because I just think the young girl.
How good's Dale Ferguson? Looking very good, man.
Well, even
Trent Merrin just with the wrong without his kid on.
Ashton Gold.
He's already on the way playing.
Ashton Gold in.
He was good. Ashton Gold. He was good. Yeah.
But the idea, the script, the way it's done.
Yeah.
She's brilliant. The young school girl that does it. To turn that from why aren't you having? Nobody said why aren't you having the draw. They all went, wow, what a great video.
I think we did, but
no,
it was
it wasn't a big deal.
It was explained well. Yeah, well, we'll find out on the 16th. I think the 16th.
Rich and I were chatting about this. Is it an iconic sporting venue? In which case they were at Old Trafford. Can it be any more iconic than that when the final is going to be at Old Trafford? Or is it at a venue that is a non-sporting venue? Is it going to be? We're all going to be stood underneath the angel of the north.
Sorry, I've been watching The Crown. I'm a bit.
Prince William.
No, I mean
Prince Harry.
They are doing a fantastic job, and hopefully, because I think that as you were saying, how important it is for the game. They understand that. They realise that. They're working their socks off, and obviously the legacy. I mean, I think the best thing that they did. I'm sure was it 25 million or 15 million government funding that they managed to secure literally the week of or the day before the Brexit referendum. So they got it from Cameron and Osborne, and then obviously Brexit went away, and then Cameron and Osborne quit, but they'd already committed to funding. So happy days.
Nigel's taking credit.
Is he?
But he didn't because obviously he didn't speak to you.
I think I'd probably give John Dutton a fair bit of credit. But,
our friend Michael would buy all of the Rugby League if it was available. And here's the question then. Michael would, but how many people bought that England Knights versus Jamaica thing and subsequently watched those 2 or 4, however many Pacific nations?
That was never quite announced, was it?
But they never announced the England Samoa figures, did they, from a couple of years ago?
No.
And we know that not many people are watching these games because we are fed the figures in a press release that made it sound like it was great.
Yeah.
But it didn't come across.
Ronald Saint says clubs could not survive with just 11 home games. It's an interesting one, isn't it, that? Because
pay the players less.
Well, that's what pretty much Richard Healy says in the paper. It's about the supporters, not the players anymore.
What do clubs earn money for having? What do they get now? 14 home games.
Yeah.
So 3
15?
more home games.
What is it?
Yeah, it's 29 in the
Yeah.
league.
Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
home money if you're in the cup, whatever. But so that's 3 more games at home. Now the people that have bought a season ticket have already paid, so you're not getting any more money off of them. The walk-ups at games, I think, are insignificant at most clubs anyway. When you take the season ticket numbers out, the only thing the ground's open for is beers and hot
Food.
dogs and making any money you can out of
Merchandise.
you're milking the same people all the time.
Corporates.
Yeah.
We've
Which
said
But
corporates
again-
are going to make a lot more money.
But some are better than others, corporate.
Yeah,
So
Leeds.
again, so that's a fair point. But how many more people would go if there were only 11 games
Well, we've said
rather than?
we've said
Well,
it before.
I think if Wigan and Warrington are playing each other once and not, or twice and not 6 times a season, you make the effort to get them.
Well, I
Yeah.
think the other thing about that is that the clubs aren't talking from a position of strength. Because I think if they were selling out all of their games,
Yeah.
then yes.
Well, yeah, it's
But the
interesting. I mean,
fact
I'm
is,
presuming
it's
Rommel Saint is a Saints fan, but
it's a false economy.
for
Because
the last 2 years, Saints have had the best team by a million miles in the competition. But they've never sold at Langtree Park. They don't sell it out.
The
Never.
crowds,
they
the
sell
crowds
it
are up a
out
little
for
bit.
one game, which is against Wigan, and if that
Did
was
he sell him? I think he
so
sold
it
out.
gets,
didn't he?
it gets
Sold
close.
out.
But if
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
the
so it
only,
gets close
but if it
once.
was the only game against Wigan, it would definitely sell out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And all of those games where it's half empty, you've got scope to
Hmm.
make that scarcity into a real saleable value rather than just keep.
So I think it's easy to say, oh, we need more home games.
No,
That's
you
the
need
chairman's
to-
fault.
You
Yeah.
need
You need
to
to get
sell
more fans
and
there.
market
That's
the
what you
ones
need
that
to
you've
do.
got.
Yeah, and if you can't do it, and I'm picking on, so I'm using them as an example, because they've had the best team. If they, in a rugby league heartland, cannot sort out their own ground, then what does that say? You
I
know?
think it's across the competition, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's across the whole league.
So it's, I don't know, I think less is more. People going about that
Yes.
Bradford Leeds, 10,000 a year, because it's the first time in
Absolutely.
5
Yeah.
years it's
First
happened.
time in history.
And let's be fair,
History.
it ain't going to happen again anytime soon.
No, but that's exactly
Right?
it.
Let's the
And
wall
that's
balls
why
are
people
together in
went.
a drill.
If that had been, oh, we're playing them 3 times in Super League, there'd have been 5,000 there.
Scarcity sells. You're
Yeah.
a big fan of the NFL. I know you watch a lot of it.
That's scarcity.
But,
Yeah,
there,
it
but
is,
there,
yeah.
there are some teams that don't play each other for about 3 or 4 years,
Yeah,
so that
yeah.
when they
Yeah.
do, that's massive. And I know that it's a very different geographic, but the less is more principle works. It's the same in the NRL.
Well,
that
can you
not
imagine-
everybody
can you
plays
imagine the
everybody
Premier
home and
League?
away.
If Man City and Man United played each other 6 times a year, I don't think the 6th time the crowd would be bigger as the first time.
No, exactly.
Every year,
Yeah,
and
won't
you
be,
know,
won't
yeah,
be.
just,
The season starts in the end of January. Round 1, Wigan against Warrington. Week 29 is Wigan against Warrington.
Oof.
Yeah.
Are they playing for the Locker Cup on that?
and there's probably a half decent chance they'll both be in the semi-finals and
Yeah.
play each other.
People,
And meet in the Challenge Cup.
people asking if he's been banned. No, he's not. Look, he's there. He's just not here this week. Oh,
Stuck in
he's
Bradford.
attached there, look.
Oh, that's harsh.
He said it's not that big.
Lee Crook says he should switch to loose forward. Apparently to get that 47th cap.
But the
You've got to
problem,
be able to tackle.
yeah,
as a
that's the
forward,
problem.
shouldn't
He's already admitted he doesn't do tackling. He's not going to be playing loose forward.
Ashes aftermath. Everybody's to blame, says Lindsay.
he? Except me.
Take Leeds and Bradford, for example. How many test players have they produced in the past few years? There you go. Great big
What
crap
year
again.
was that?
94.
Yeah, Leeds.
We'll do some more of the
Was that
politicsy stuff.
Big Mal or was that Ricky?
That was 90, wasn't it? Was that?
My memory's gone.
We'll do more politics stuff in a bit. With the rugby league politics.
Oh.
Because, we haven't spoken about Leeds for a bit. This person says, that's just random listening. Thoughts on the transfer merry-go-round? That's all over, mate. He's gone. He's on all them posters all over Headingley, and now he's not
It's
there.
backflipped and backflipped and backflipped.
Right.
He was here, and then he's
And
gone.
he
And
rose.
he's here, and he's gone. And he's gone. He's
What do you
gone.
make of it, Phil?
I think there are a lot of personal reasons behind him going, which are perfectly understandable. I don't think it's to do so much with him. I think it's his partner Jess, who needed to be back home in Australia. Don't have a problem with that. Can't fault his commitment for all the time that he did play. Thought he was very important to the team towards the back end of last year when he came back. It opens up an interesting question: was will Leeds now recruit because they've got a further overseas spot that they hadn't really anticipated? They've also got somebody who's coming off marquee money. You would think even if they're paying Matt Pryor a fair amount. He won't be a marquee signing at 32. So I wouldn't be surprised if. I think we knew that Leeds would sign 2 players. That was Lehman and Pryor. I think there could well be a third, and it might be a 3/4. But it won't be. But it won't be Latrell Mitchell.
Where's he going to play then?
Well, they are light in the 3/4.
Could have got Jimmy Kynhouse back.
Well, I thought Richie Marlowe playing on the wing. We said that last week. Can
played at night
I
as
just say to Leeds, well done on the Merrin thing. Because
I think they've handled it with integrity.
yeah, they have.
Yeah.
No, I think they've come out instead of bullying and trying to bluff it and said, look, we understand he might need to go home. That's your deadline. If your deadline up, come back. He's come back, and then the deal, as we always thought would happen, would come in, and he's gone. He goes home with credit. He came and played really well in Super League. Certainly at the end, he played well. He got the club. I think he put his shift in.
Yeah.
And he goes home with everyone's best wishes. I think, and he's come and done a good job. And I think Leeds have. It's one of them. You deny it, and the story's about him leaving. He's gone. No one's gone. Oh, Merrin's gone.
He's having his first kid. I mean, I think you can understand him and his partner want family support around them. I mean, anyone who's got kids.
Yeah.
You know.
That's what
and you look at the stats. You look at the stats this season. I think he was in the top 3.
Second offloader.
Yeah,
second best
meters,
offloader.
offloads.
But my point is, if they'd have spent the last
well.
6 months denying he's leaving, and then he goes, it's a disaster, isn't it?
But you look
at
the Seguiaro thing and the Merrin thing. They're not even comparable.
No, they're not.
And I think
the
interesting was the way they announced it. They announced that Pryor's arrived, and then it was only about the 3rd paragraph. It went, oh, by the way, as expected, Merrin's gone.
Wigan-esque.
It was really well handled.
Good news and the bad news.
No. See, if it were Wigan, what they'd do is say that Merrin signed a deal to come back
Handshake
on marquee money.
Oh yeah, well he actually hadn't. Yeah.
In 28 years' time.
You know the Wigan
Actually,
hierarchy.
they've signed Merrin's child. The off chance.
Yeah, they've got first option.
First refusal if he has a son.
You know the Wigan hierarchy.
It's 2050.
Paul asked, how is 18 Rugby going to run alongside dual registration and loan players? No, who knows? Oh, ask us that times, Paul.
I don't know.
And the other thing is that the reserve and academy fixtures are out today, and a lot of them, there are some double headers, but not enough of them. You know, you've still got Saturdays and Thursday nights and Wednesday academy games. And
Thursday nights don't all go.
It all seems
I cannot understand how they cannot link that together. And I know you've got the likes of Toronto and Catalan in there, you can't bring their reserves in, but you could say to, I don't know who has got a reserve team in the lower league.
Bradford and Newcastle.
Yeah, well you could say, right, Newcastle.
I don't think Bradford do.
Yeah, but you could say Newcastle reserves,
Toronto.
you are in effect Toronto, so over they're playing, your reserves are playing, and that's how it's going to work. That's, you know, if you want to do it that way, you can do it. Same with the women's game, you know.
We all clamoured for a return of the reserves.
The worry I think
for
for everybody who's looking at reserves is where are they going to get their players from, and I just desperately hope it doesn't decimate the top end of the community game.
Well, I think, I mean,
I'll
say what I said
to
what I said to last week about Bradford. You look at those 5 guys that have gone to Hull KR. I don't envisage any of them are going to play anytime soon at Hull KR. Are they going to play in the reserves?
Already gone back, hasn't he?
So they're going to play in the reserves.
Yeah.
Where's the career progression in that?
Is the reserves a better standard than the championship?
No, I don't think it is.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it is.
If you're one of those players, I suppose that you are still playing for, whether you're playing reserves, you're still playing at the same club, you're still coaching, as opposed to going to, say, Dewsbury.
Reserves only works if everybody is of a similar kind of standard.
And that won't be the case.
And that won't be the case.
But we have been clamouring for it, Phil, and we've got it now.
Oh,
it's just like you said, you've got to...
But I think, again, clamouring for it in the respect of there's a gap between academy football and stepping up to first team. I'm not sure that we were all saying it needs to be reserves as in the way reserves were in the past, because things stop for a reason. It's like, why don't we have the Yorkshire Lancashire anymore? Because people stopped going to it.
Bring it back.
Well, one of the reasons reserves went was because clubs couldn't really make it viable. Now, would we have been better saying we need that tier between academy and Super League? So we need some centres of excellence that people will be attached to. It didn't have to be necessarily bringing back every team has a reserve grade, and that means that unfortunately Alton, Siddle and Stanley and Skirler and Wathbrow are all going to have their open age teams, their best players pulled into a reserve grade division and never get given the opportunity to play first grade and don't go back to their community clubs.
towards the end of the programme, we should make outlandish predictions. Not predictions of who's going to win the league or whatever, because they're dull. Something that will happen next year that will be ridiculous. And I would say something like midway through the season, we'll either scrap reserves or we'll have a team who puts out more trialists or more A and others than actual players.
No, that's a fair call, yeah. I'd have a fiver on that.
Mark's got a statement. Kevin Sinfield is the new Kieran Cunningham. If someone can
Well, they're
Photoshop,
building a statue of him.
Photoshop some tiny headphones on his head.
Yeah.
I'm wrong. Thanks, Mark.
I don't know.
Yeah. That was that Mark who said that.
I think the difference is Kevin
No, it
appears
wasn't.
to be...
No, it wasn't. That's a lie.
Kevin appears to be untouchable, while Kieran obviously was not.
Oh, I thought I'd do an Adrian Durham on you. John says, "Hi guys, one question: who's your dark horses for next season?" Coventry, going to win League One.
What, in the Super League?
Yeah, going to be in Super League next year. Coventry. They'll kick out to try and put Coventry in there. They've got lovely kits.
I don't know.
And they've signed an Irish.
Well, that's John. He's pretty good at predicting stuff.
Is he?
Dark horse, I mean,
Is he doing on
I would say Calloway's, but that'd come back to bite me, but maybe Hull. I think that their recruitment has been
Well, they're a big
impressive.
price to get in the top 5. I had a look last week. I think they will be in the 5 this year.
And I think they've freshened up. They're a bit younger. They seem like, obviously it's going to depend on.
They just need to decide what their best halfback pair is and try and keep it on the field for as long as possible.
And what Jake Connor's best position is. But
that's part of it, isn't it?
if the players that they've signed,
their
hit the
pack
ground
will
running.
be one of the most difficult to get over in the whole of the league.
Yeah. So I think they're a very good chance of making the 5 and doing some damage, but
I tell you who was the top.
I wouldn't bet my life on it either.
Top rugby league tipster in 1994.
Not Gary Schofield.
On his advert for William Hill. They're good people. Tipster's top tipster, Steve-O. Near the bottom, Dave Woods. Nothing changes if you've seen the media tipping competition. He actually has to play in those days, which is a very interesting thing to do.
Sonny Wackaroo.
Yeah.
Is that a real name?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is the
Wackaroo, that's good.
Here's
What
the
is he doing?
coupon.
Onomatopoeia.
He's related to Buckaroo, that game we got.
Here's the coupon. Winners have got 18 at Halifax. Wakefield 22 at Bradford. Times have changed. Hull 12 at Cass. Doncaster 24 at Leeds. Bloody hell, you'd be on Leeds there, wouldn't you? Salford 8 at home to St Helens. Workington 12 at Sheffield. Fev 12 at Warrington. And Oldham 26 at Wigan. God, Leeds must have been crap in those days. Bloody hell. Going down.
Is that all you do, read all magazines?
Doncaster will go down.
Yeah, that's true. I've got to throw them out. That's the problem. When people advertise jobs, good. Salary, competitive. What does that mean? What does that mean? Hello, Brian.
Brian's here.
Yeah. You've not seen these days?
Brian's bought Christmas trees.
You can tell it's we've hit December.
Is that from last year?
Yeah,
You haven't found these in the cupboard.
So they've can't do it.
Can they? I'm debating whether I have one.
I think you can.
Toby's got a question for John, because John's got his finger on the pulse of rugby league news. So much so that we're after paying for it, which we'll come to in a minute.
Thank you,
Wilson.
Thank
you.
Toby has asked.
It's not about
Play,
Warrington, is it?
Warrington.
It's always about
I'm
Warrington.
Daniel's
going to
asked
have
as
a
well.
go at one. I'm not sure I like them.
I don't like him. Daniel and Toby are asking, players at Warrington definitely need a prop. Are they signing a prop? Who's signing for Warrington?
Have they got any room under their salary cap?
I don't imagine they'd have a lot. Honestly, I don't know. I've tried to speak to Steve Price the other week. I think he's a bit busy at the moment. I think maybe next week. But
Presumably,
He's always telling you. He's not just blanking you there.
have they
could be blanking me. Yeah.
have they got an overseas spot?
That's a good question. Who left? Bryson Goodwin left. They may do, yeah. I mean, I think the interesting thing is that after the Manu Tuolangi to Toronto sort of story came out, they admitted that they were interested in it. So
I don't think he'll play prop though.
they're definitely looking for a prop. I mean, they've got quite a
I like
big
how
squad.
teams admit that they were. Oh yeah, we were interested in it. Yeah, we were interested. I'd say that if I were in charge at like some League One club, I'd go, yeah, we
spoke to his agent.
Spoke to his agent.
Well, that could be literally
but
a
you can't-
text
Hello,
message.
are you his agent?
But he can't come and turn on the Christmas lights,
Well,
so we've had to move on.
We
to
talked
new
about the
targets.
Latrell Mitchell. Now every you know, the Maitland pumpkin pickers are coming out with a quote saying, "Yeah, we've had talks with Latrell Mitchell," and it's just become.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
We've offered him, you know, 2 pies after every game and a pint of Tui's.
We've made but the correct term there is they've made him an offer.
Yeah.
They've made him an offer. It might have been.
They're in the race.
Just as long as
they're in the race.
Yeah. Just as long
they're
as
the big fat block at the back.
Just as long as
dressed as a penguin or whatever it is.
Just don't do it when they're under contract. Just don't do it then.
Well, because that never happens, Rich. That
What
never
did we
happens.
think about that story this week? About the Wolfpack are chasing players of Canadian heritage.
Oh yes, and
I think it's called public relations or cheerleading. I think that's called.
Who's Canadian?
No.
Who's Canadian?
My point is, didn't they say that they're gonna speak to those players without the knowledge of the club? Is that not tapping up play? Is that
The only team who's ever been fined $5,000 for Jason Robinson.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And you didn't even get him.
And I imagine how rugby history would have changed, and that's the right use of the word rugby, because if you hadn't signed for Wakefield, you wouldn't have played rugby union for England. They wouldn't have won the World Cup. Oh. Finally, you hadn't let us off that $5,000 RFL. Your fault. Who was in charge of the RFL then? Some faceless.
I remember. I enjoy always speaking to Andy Kelly, who was the coach at the time.
Oh, don't swear. Oh.
And he said that the board said we were going to sign all these players. And he's like, yeah, we can't even afford the ones we've got. Why are we even?
It's the old politician's distraction.
Jonah Lomu was on the list.
He turned down £1 million to sign for Wakefield in Jonah Lomu. Because his agents knew. They knew what was happening.
Can you imagine Jonah Lomu at Bellevue? I mean, he may be from South Auckland, but I think, yeah.
Jonah Lomu and the Johns brothers. Both of them.
And they regret it.
$5,000. Imagine. Yeah, $5,000 for Jason Robinson. That's the Wigan biased RFL there for you again. Shocking. Elsewhere on social media, I want to know what the Rugby Football League ROI model is for a start. On the field, David says exiles ? It's we kind of missed the boat, didn't we? Because rugby unions had the barbarians for years, which are a pointless mob these days. Because
and they seem to be ever more pointless now.
The world has moved on. They still get on the telly. It's on BBC One the other week instead of the tennis, which I thought was a despicable editorial decision by the BBC. You've got the best tennis players in the world. You put them on BBC Two, and you put a joking match on BBC One. Well, apparently they do. Exiles, would you bring them back? I'd play against a proper international team. Mm-hmm. But
the question is,
well, they're talking seriously.
Why did we get rid of them in the first place?
Just
choking on a mince pie.
I told you that it's been I've had mine now. If I die now.
It's like
did anyone go?
They did to start with.
I remember it was a decent contest, but yeah, it just didn't seem to.
The fans had an issue with who to support. Because they didn't want to be seen to, but they didn't want to be seen to be booing the guys who they really liked. That
what an England used as a trial
played for the Exiles.
Roger. Oh, why are the RFL still promoting Raggy Chase? He's playing in League One.
He is. Oh, come on! But you have to say, looking at his highlights.
Yeah, but you're showing highlights of a player from 5 years ago. Concentrate on what you can actually promote. Not bloody clubs in League One, for crying out loud.
Now, if we're looking to shorten the season and play more meaningful international games, the Exiles is a concept that has had its day.
The thing is, though, when you say who they're going to play, I mean, unless they're going to throw big money, you're not going to get New Zealand or Australia.
But they're talking about going to the Southern Hemisphere.
Well, that's it, and then they're just going to keep going every...
Well, there needs to be a strategy for the long term as to how you improve Northern Hemisphere rugby. Exactly. In the short term, you have to go and play Samoa away.
I think a Celtic 13 or 17 would be.
I just think we need to get a calendar whereby Scotland, Ireland and Wales are playing such meaningful fixtures on such a regular basis that the players that are eligible to play for them will play for them in the intervening years.
And the clubs will actually allow them to play for them?
So Morgan Knowles, for example, is an established Welsh international. There's a story in one of the papers there, Joe Philbin's thinking of switching allegiance from Ireland to... Well, that's why I mentioned it. To give you...
Paid £1.50 for that.
That's the thing is, what is the point of the England Knights?
But what's the point of having an Ireland team if one of their best players
Toby King as well, I imagine.
Is now, Toby King
Well,
will play for the England Knights.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
So,
and this again comes out what we said, and you look at the rugby union players, they can play 10 tests a year. You know, and if you know you're going to play as an international 5 games a year,
absolutely,
and it ain't going to mean that's 5 games on a 35 game season, it's actually 5 games instead of 5 league game or whatever. The players will make themselves more. If there's games every meaningful
games,
they all turn up for the World Cup because it's meaningful.
And the 2016 Four Nations.
Yeah. So if you actually say, actually say, right, guys, this is what we're doing, and you're gonna,
here's the calendar, and every 4th year it's Great Britain. So Toby King, while you're playing in the centres for Ireland, we're measuring you against Oliver Gildart, who's playing for England. The best one of you will be going on.
That's why Tonga have arguably stayed as good as they are or gotten better, is because every year now they're playing Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
They're not playing.
So you can't tell me if Tonga had not played for 4 more years, Tom Oliver wouldn't have gone, thanks lads, been a right laugh, I'm off back now.
PNG.
Yeah, but because he knows they're going to play, he'll play. And now they're beating Australia, they'll all want to play next year.
Now they're going, well, we can actually win the Bloody World Cup,
And PNG are getting better because every year they've got Oceania fixtures.
Yeah, and the mid-season.
And they've got more play. For all the focus was, one of the half-backs played for Doncaster. They had more Super League and NRL players playing in that PNG team than has ever played before.
Yeah,
and that will only increase.
The Queensland Cup is arguably, I wouldn't say it's as good as Super League, but it's not far from it. It's a lot better than, I think, the Championship. And you look at the players who've come from the Q Cup, Connor Jones, I think he was at 3 games at Featherstone, Salford snapped him up. It's a very, very good competition, and they're playing week in, week out as together, as a national team.
Well, and more than that, PNG have got a team in that competition.
That's what I mean. They're playing together.
Not only.
And what do we say as well? We mentioned the Donny guy, but you could have picked a guy out of League One to play for England when they're playing well, and put him in, and you'd have got by. You can't. You get away with one.
But what
if it had been a team full of League One players, then that would have happened.
But when you've got Alex Johnson at the back, you go, he can play.
And you've got Reece Martin.
And, there's a quality of player that they've never had the chance to call on. But one of the reasons that they are prepared to commit is because they now have an established international calendar for at least the next 3 or 4 years.
Which is hence the issue in the Northern Hemisphere. The Southern Hemisphere teams are getting better, at least the Pacific teams, and France are getting worse.
And you've got people
Scotland,
who
Ireland,
are now committing to not playing in State of Origin because they want to keep their international options open. Well, fantastic. I wish we had that option.
And that's why for me, that's why for me, we've just got to bite the bullet and say, right, we're following you.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to have, the same model, same calendar, whatever.
Well, if we're going to have a cup competition, which is the one thing you don't have, it has to be pre-season.
Maybe. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Again, that would have to come into that.
Yeah, we're already looking to get rid of all games. So,
Yeah. And also, and this is how I see the international working, is if you say, right, Australia coming to England or Great Britain next season, and their season starts a month early, so that when they're finished, then they can come here, and some of our teams that are just finishing, so whoever gets knocked out in the playoffs, week 1 would play or whatever. I think it can be done if there's a willingness to want it to be done, rather than it's on our own time. We've got to give some ground to make some.
That's what happens with the Prime Minister's 13. That the Australian teams, the ones who aren't in the playoffs, in the grand final, they go in the Prime Minister's 13 and they go off and play PNG or Fiji.
Yeah.
So it gives them a meaning. They're still good players. It gives them a meaningful game.
Yeah.
And it's not over-exerting the same bunch of players.
But it also gives PNG and Fiji, who they play,
competition,
the best opposition they'll have played that year.
Yes, yeah.
So everybody benefits. They get a game at home.
But as we were at the media briefing a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, Phil, and I asked, it was funny because at the same time, Nigel Wood said in a podcast, this will be worrying Ralph Rimmer over his cornflakes every day in the international game. The Pacific teams are getting better. There's concerns in the Northern Hemisphere, and Ralph said, no, not concerned. Got a competitive team. He, of course, was talking about England. He doesn't presumably now care anymore about England.
He was the manager of Ireland.
2000. Because you have to look at France and say, why are the
But
French
you also
so
have
bad?
to be. You also have to be realistic.
Yeah,
about
you do.
France.
You do.
No, and why do their best players seemingly never play for France? Why does Théophage?
But one of the other things
Escarade.
about France is that we assume that merely by putting a team in Super League, that would improve the French national. All you're doing is giving the same players more games to play.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like saying to St Helens, look, you're going to form the entire England team every time they play.
You look at
I don't think we'll be releasing everybody.
You look at the Jason Barrieri.
There clearly are some issues.
There's obviously big issues there. Yeah.
And
the constant underachieving of Catalans points to that there's.
But then again, you look at their recruitment at the moment, and it's not a surprise that the French national team isn't being strengthened because of who they're signing. Now, I'm not sure that, with the greatest respect to him, Joel Tompkins furthers the French national team by signing for Catalan Dragons. But the other thing is, what else is happening in French domestic rugby league? Because whilst we hear that there's some progress being made, clearly there isn't a quality of player coming through that's displacing the Catalan players in French selection.
Also, what is the national team set up?
So,
yeah.
Big back Bobby Goulding.
Monsieur Goulding.
I was going to read a quote from Richard Fewis, but I thought I can't be bothered now. I'm just going to go back to our listeners because they're really important. We weren't about marquee players, it just made no sense. John says, are social media journalists, what are social media journalists? Are they the ones who just pick other people's stories? Focusing on the negative aspects of the game in order to increase the amount of likes or retweets, and is it just turning people away from the game? I don't think it is, because I don't think people...
I wish I got paid for likes or retweets. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like
the problem I think we have in terms of a rugby league media, there's another question about this in a moment from Paul. There's too much out there being put out there by people, and the irony is strong on this point, who are doing it for free, who perhaps...
What, not behind a paywall?
Nothing wrong with paywalls. So.
Like the problem with radio in this country these days is there's this thing called community radio. There's a lot of people involved with community radio who are good, but the other thing it gives is the opportunity to people who are not good enough to be on proper radio, the opportunity to be on the radio and play at being on the radio. And I say this from someone who's been involved in broadcasting for the best part of 2 decades, which is ridiculous. And I've got away with it for so long. So I speak with an arrogance of having been there and done it. At the highest level! At the highest level! Never would have thought.
Wore a cravat on the BBC.
Yeah. I don't class that as the highest level. Do talk sport, but there you go. That was accidental. There's almost too much out there now from people who are not journalists and don't have the
training, skills, experience.
I don't need to sound like I'm being arrogant or anything, because I've said before, I don't class myself as a journalist. I'm not classing myself in, there's too much out there that's just clickbait lists. Here's a list of this, here's a list of that, and I know we're all trying to make money, which we'll come to in a moment. I don't think it's social media negativity that is doing the game down, because that's just blaming the ills of those above us on people saying stuff online. But I think there is too much online that isn't good enough, and too many people are accredited who shouldn't be.
I don't get the word negativity. I don't think you either have to be negative or positive about rugby league. I think we've got too much of a chip on our shoulder.
You can be honest.
I think you can be realistic. You can ask relevant questions. If people want to take that as negative, then that's
we've had
entirely
this
up
for
to
a
them.
few
But
years.
I don't buy into this. You're either negative or positive.
You're negative because you ask questions. You ask questions because you want the game to succeed.
Exactly. People who tend to ask questions have a passion for the sport that they're asking questions about, because they want it to be the best they can be, and it can be, and they get frustrated if they see it falling short in any respect.
Yeah.
Now, I don't take that as being negative, and I think if you're gonna say that nobody's ever allowed to say anything that isn't other than rugby league's the greatest, most wonderful game that's ever been played, then...
Well, look at football, right? Football in this country, it dominates 98% of the press, media.
Everyone seems very positive about VAR.
It's all negative. He's going to get the sack.
Yeah.
He's going to get the sack. He's doing this. He's had this tattoo. He's a bad person.
Yeah.
He's done this. He's been out boozing. It's what attracts headlines. And in our sport, right, we do not have enough. We do not ask enough questions. we do not challenge the norm, and saying you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got, and that's what we're getting in rugby league because no one will challenge it. And those that are seem to be negative and doom and gloom. No, they're not. No, they're not. We would love to come in here every week. All the games are sold out. All we're talking about is how great all the tries were and how big the crowd was and record this and record that.
We genuinely can't predict who's going to win anything. No,
it's not going to happen. And that's the problem. And it needs the norm needs challenging. And if that's at Super League or RFL level, it needs challenging. And until people do that, nothing will ever change because those that are in power are getting away with being inept.
Accountability.
Yeah, yes. They're getting away with failure, mediocrity, however you're going to label it. They're getting away with it because no one's there to kick them out.
Well, in the first instance, they need to set out what their plan is. And if they don't, you need to keep asking them what their plan is, and then they need to be judged against their plan. And the one thing I would say for Blake Solly before he left rather suddenly was that when he was trying to sell the eights, which a lot of people thought was a concept that wouldn't work and were ultimately proved to be right, he actually, to his credit, said these are the 10 things you can measure us against. Now, unfortunately, he wasn't in position to answer the fact why none of those 10 had been achieved because he'd been moved out of the organisation. But I think, again, it's not negative to ask him to put down what we're trying to be, it's like we're going back to the shot clock again, aren't we? It's like, so what?
Yeah, it's crap. It's crap.
Well done. You brought in something.
That should have been an email just for note from next season. Shot clock will be.
Well, they usually do that, don't they? Start the season. Here's some rule changes.
But what are we supposed to say? That's the greatest. We agree with you. This is the greatest thing you could have done over the
No, it's well done. You've done one thing. Now, what are you doing now? What's the next thing?
And as it turned out, it was built on a fallacy anyway. So we were right to question it.
Yeah.
That's not negative or positive. That's just doing your job.
Well, it's like asking about that video last year. What was the point of it? Oh, everyone's it's hard. This is hard. I've never heard about it since. Apparently, they're paying thousands for all these videos. Where are they? Should be seeing them now.
Well, again, one of the things that we've said time immemorial. You need to make players' personalities. We will put at the forefront.
Was that not what Rob Elson said he was going to do?
We'll put at the forefront the players. Nobody knows anyone any more than they did 18 months ago.
No.
So are we not allowed to question that and say, look, what's the plan?
No, you're not.
What money's been spent on ambassadors, the RFL? What have we got back for that money?
As you've seen by the most powerful man in the country, if you don't like certain questioning or don't really put yourself up the rig, you just don't turn up.
Yeah.
Or you get your little lackey with the glasses to try and gate crash.
Yeah. We go back to the World Cup again. We see more of the.
I was very positive about the World Cup. Thank you.
We see more of Jodie Cunningham, etc. Luke Gates in their World Cup roles than we do of anyone in Super League.
Well, they have hired ambassadors for each part of the tournament, and those ambassadors. I mean, the World Cup Legacy programme is off to Brazil this week.
I know. We're trying to part of that trip. Sao Paulo. Big rugby league hub that they love.
But it's
not like Thursday night game.
It's
awful travelling on a Thursday from Sao Paulo.
When you go to Brazil,
the women's game in a new continent, who are in the World Cup. Lois Forsell, as the ambassador of the Women's World Cup, is flying out to Brazil. That's fantastic, and we'll be getting footage back. But you can see that they've said these people are going to.
It's almost like they've got a plan.
Promote our game, and you can see them doing it.
I do believe in Rio de Janeiro they refer to Odsel as the Maracanã of Brazil.
Maracanã of the North.
Yeah. Good to see, by the way, the extremely diverse list of people on the Rugby League Express Men of the Year. Or people.
Is Andrew Chalmers going to retain his crown?
John Bateman, Justin.
He won it last year, didn't he? He was Rugby League Man of the Year, wasn't it?
Who's that?
5 men.
It was
Mark Green.
Mark Green.
What was it? I
Derek Bowman.
I'm getting mixed up, man.
Sorry.
Are you still banned from Lee?
I don't know. I haven't. Yeah.
Do you still get the emails from Lee about all their?
No, I don't.
Oh dear. Mark says, "Why don't we invite a player onto the show?" We might do one day, but we'd rather just.
Mark, I think they're fair.
Depends who the players are.
Let's be fair, right? You invite a player on the show, then they're more than welcome. What are they going to say? Can't have an opinion about anything because they might get fined or they might get told off or they might offend their opponents or whatever. It's very difficult for the guys to come on here and speak like we do. They can't do it, and then it's a different show then.
I've seen TV
I think we saw Richie Mathers the other day. Spoken differently to how he would have spoken if he was still employed at Warrington. Because he's not in the game, he'd be a little bit more forthright and have an opinion on things that, as an employee, you can't have an opinion on that.
No, I think what we would probably do is get people who are very closely associated to players without necessarily getting players themselves.
I thought the thing the RFL did the other week, I've only read the one with Jeremy McGilvery because they sent it to me to read before they did.
Arsenal play Leeds in the cup, did they?
Oh, they beat them, weren't they? I thought the Jermaine McGilvery piece was very interesting, but you need to do more of that, and you need to do more of it, not just the written word, because people don't read these days.
But who's that going to though? Like,
don't say
who's
that.
That's. I mean,
what
why is the
but,
RFL doing?
But what was the headline? You know, if there'd been a story on the back, we've done a great interview that you'll find really interesting. Yeah.
I took the headline being the Whitbush
story?
stuff because that was an actually interesting piece. Whereas, you know,
but I think
because the train really hard and stuff.
I think George Clark did that in the Daily Mail about 18 months ago, the Windrush stuff, with Jermaine McGilvery. And I think the Daily Mail's got a slightly bigger readership than the RFL.
Oh, probably thought, oh, good. Gengis' question I'll come to later because it's a good one. Paul
just
says,
come from a dental conference.
Paul says, with national media coverage declining, what does the future of rugby league media look like? Different models emerging, e.g. buying the balls on Patreon, League Express announcements. Are you earning a living, John, from your Patreon?
If you
what do you define by living?
A cancel, man.
What do you define by living?
Certainly subscribe because we like it. If you're making enough money, it's cancel. Take the money now.
I think we've got about 85 subscribers, so I wouldn't call that a living. No,
5% are in this room.
Yeah, I think half of my income comes from football journalism. So no, I'm not making a living.
Here's the question for the people: is there any money in rugby league journalism full time?
Well, I don't think there is. I don't think there is, and I think that's the problem.
How many full-time rugby league journalists are there?
Well,
I'd say 10, maybe.
And again, I'll come back again.
I'm not.
You talk about the Bulls thing, and I know you've done a lot of work on it. Ross certainly has. A lot of people have done a lot of work around it. But the truth is, nobody outside rugby league is bothered.
Unfortunately,
and there is no money in it. There is no money to be made by John spending 6 months investigating, even if he got all the truth.
Unless someone wants to give me $5 grand.
Probably wouldn't even make the back page of a major newspaper because no one's bothered. And that's a sad reflection of where we're at. And again, we're lucky enough we worked on national radio and things like that. There are things a sport can do, and again we go back to the BBC. If you say the BBC, you want the Challenge Cup, you can have it, but in return we want X, Y, and Z. And as a sport, we never do that. Oh, you want it? Oh, Brill, will you please put it on? Oh, Brill.
I think there's a scare factor if
rather than say,
if it was rushed.
You want our product? Right, well, this is what we want for it. And if they give you that, then all of a sudden people are talking about it a little bit more. And you know,
I think we've got to be smarter as a sport.
Yeah.
We don't pull in the big corporate dollar, which again is one of the ways of opening the media door. We don't have an exciting enough product outside of those of us that love the product, and we start too early and we finish too late. So again, it's going back to this: who at the end of January is going to be excited outside of us that Super League is starting? When you get into that point in the all-consuming football season, when things are really starting to happen.
And you have the Six Nations starting in February.
So there are certain things we can control to make the profile of our game bigger, which will mean that it'll be better reported.
There have been things that haven't helped though as well. You know, like you look at people in national media, they get invited to a Challenge Cup final. It happened to be Wigan Hull, probably the worst Challenge Cup final ever. That's their this isn't very good. You know what I mean? So there's that's a little bit unlucky. If that had been 40-38, wow, when's the next game on?
But you don't stop inviting them.
No. All you do is next time offer them a couple more pints, and then they might not even realise how bad they get.
Yeah, you keep going that extra mile. You keep trying. You don't.
And then you say, "Hang on,
how can we help
need
you?
a favour off you now. Can you just do this for us? Can you do that for us?"
I don't think we court the media enough as a sport.
How ridiculous! And this is one when we used to work on a radio station, and they produce ads, and you say, "Well, send us the ad, and we'll play it for you." Oh no, it doesn't matter. Sorry. We have got listeners. It's free. It's an email. Send me an email and we'll put on your ticket advert that wants tickets, selling ticket. We'll put it on. We'll put it on the pocket. People don't listen.
Maybe I'm bitter because we were on national radio. We had a show that was, I think it was good, and I think everyone thought it was good, and it's not on now because the radio station changed format, which is fine. That happens. We weren't taken off the air because we were no good, or swore, or anything. But the sport didn't realise how big an opportunity they had in 2 hours every week on national radio.
Yeah, not once did we get asked by anyone at the governing body if we wanted any guests or anything. That's
you know, with the best win in the world.
No.
With the best win in the world, they caught programs on television on channels nobody watches, and we had an audience on national radio they could have promoted to.
No,
and they failed to miss an opportunity.
So
and they keep taking the wrong opportunities.
It's a combination of factors, but one of them is we need to raise the visibility of the sport, and then media will get more interested in it. It's not the other way around.
So who are the personalities we promote? Because we spent 20 grand apparently on Johnny Lomax and Mike McMeekan, and where were they? What did we waste 40 grand on? Whose idea was
Sonny
that?
Bill, on the other hand,
which is free. It's not costing the sport anything.
Broke all sorts of barriers, and that wasn't arranged by anybody in the sport. It was a club that took on all of that.
Yeah.
Why did we pay that money? Whose decision was that?
Again, it's another decision you want an answer to, and you're not going to get an answer to because there's nothing to see here.
Rugby League not says who does Ralph Rimmer reporting? The independent board, who are not going to do an inquiry into the and then put some other things about KPIs and stuff. I think it's Phil Clark's, he's Rugby League nut, who employed him. Talking about other people. We don't know Rugby League. No, we don't know. Bob says, if Santa could bring Rugby League one present that would make 2020 the best the sport could be, what would it be?
It would be all the clubs spending salary cap, playing in front of full houses in games we never knew the outcome of until the last.
This is not Fantasy Island.
Well, Santa's just brought me a present. That's what I want, pal. What am I going to get? 29 rounds. 28 of them will be mediocre. We'll all get excited for the playoffs, and then that's it.
If Santa could bring us one thing, it would be that every club could sign a marquee player.
Fair point.
So that we would have 12 world-class stars spread amongst the game.
Who we have on the team photo at the start of the season on the pitch at Old Trafford. Here they are. Sonny Bill Williams, some other people.
It has, to be fair, and again, people calling for the exile. There are some very talented athletes coming to play in Super League this year.
Invasion.
We are looking forward to that. Definitely.
There is an invasion. What's the odds on the BBC will show Toronto in the Challenge Cup when they enter? It will be the Sonny Bill bandwagon, says Dave. As long as Ashton Sims isn't mic'd up, we're all right.
But if Sonny Bill is going to guarantee you viewers, because it's the story that everybody's talking about, what's wrong with that? That's
do you think when Toronto play at Allianz Park, the home of Saracens,
they play St Helens,
when they play St Helens, and Sonny Bill will be, and you'd argue it might also suit the corporate more better if you don't play Sonny Bill, but you think that there aren't going to be corporate guests there that would never go to a rugby league game?
Oh, yeah,
they are going to be rammed out. There'll be blue chip companies there, and that's the way to open. That's how they'll open doors, and that's where they'll justify their spend. Even if it's 500 a man, come and meet Sonny Bill Williams, have a pint with it. Whatever, they'll sell it.
Everybody who is a corporate sponsor for Saracens will be being emailed at this very moment.
Come and see Sonny Bill, or an evening with Sonny Bill, whatever.
We're not playing that week, but you can come and see one of the world's best rugby players.
Yeah,
of course they'll be there.
Dual World Cup winner, boxing champion.
Oh, and by the way, they're playing the best team in the competition.
Boxing champion.
Can find that block off YouTube.
Who, KSI?
Yeah. I knew he'd been.
That's the way sport is going on YouTube.
But we said it.
I mean, you're on next, John.
we said it
Better start training.
First two, one each, and then we'll go for the big money one.
I realised when I said it on the show last week, I'd actually stolen the idea from you about social media influencers. Why aren't we going out to these people?
Yeah.
Because they promote any old crap on their Instagram feed.
Well, you'd have to say Adam Hills is an influencer. I don't think anyone's propping him to push BDRL, but he's doing it. I mean, he's made a
but that's a passion of his own.
That is, yeah.
And he has shown what can be achieved, if you know what I mean. But
Russell Crowe, Hugh Jackman. I don't know. There's got to be,
But
Wayne Rooney.
I mean, just these people.
We
like
mentioned this last week. Footballers. There's
Yeah.
got to be loads. There's
Ray
got to be loads of
Ferdinand.
them. Yeah.
Ryan Giggs.
But why are they not? Why is else they're not going out and saying to these guys, look, fellas, we need you to come. Won't you be sat in the so someone could see?
Well, I mean, he did that. At the, I'm not defending him. But he did. I guess that was the season launch one. It was Josh Warrington and Stuart Pearce.
Yeah, but Josh Warrington.
But that was a one-off.
He's a world champion. He's massive in Leeds.
He's not on the sports personality shortlist.
Has he got 2 of the world belts?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
I think.
I'm not being rude. If you're not from Leeds or you're not.
I think he has. Boxing is a global sport. I think he has got some ranking. But I do see your point.
Yeah.
Stuart Pearce is someone who played the World Cup and has a much bigger.
But also, when Leeds got Gareth Southgate there.
Yeah.
That was the story.
That was big.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's why we're not doing this more often.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Because you've actually got to invite them.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Do you remember a few years ago there was, Mother's Day or Father's Day? Well, it would have been Father's Day. We had Lee Crooks on Radio Yorkshire in the commentary with us because his son was playing for whoever he was playing for at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't Super League say, right, TalkSport 5 Live, here's Stuart Pearce, you can have him as part of your commentary team for this match. Might get people interested, might not.
I don't know. Again,
Funnily
these are all ideas.
Stuart Pearce was on some TalkSport programme yesterday, and the presenter said to him, if there was one sporting event that you could go to, what would it be? And he immediately said, I love my rugby league. I'd give anything to be at Old Trafford with Warrington winning the grand final. Totally unprompted on a football programme.
You know the darts World Championships coming up for about.
Hold on, which one?
Is it the top one? 42. There's more people in this studio than have bought tickets for that one. No, the William Hill World Darts Championship, the proper darts. What do they always do during the darts? After a player's done, they show a shot of the crowd, don't they, and then show some random celebrity. So it'd be Claire Balding or Prince Harry or,
Prince Harry goes to the darts.
Yeah. Loves it. Oh, loves it, does Prince Harry. Rugby League and darts, man of the people is Prince Harry. Even married one of them. Papers don't like it. Just get those people in the crowd. I know it's not for us. It's not. We're not interested in these people in the crowd, but other people are.
Yeah, I agree.
In the real world outside of our bubble.
I agree.
I don't know.
I agree. Totally.
Get them all down the jungle on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Against.
But it's like, all right. Again, we're name dropping here. Who does Ferdinand support Leeds, or was it Rooney who supported?
Rooney supported Leeds.
And who does Ferdinand
supported
And Wigan.
He was in the Wigan dressing room.
Yeah, so if you say, right lads, come on then. Corporate, they say neither of you weren't playing at Derby, whatever. So right guys, come down, want you got a training with the players, whatever. We'll have you sat in the stand, and the sponsors are going to give you a grant to give to your church. So if your team wins, we're going to give you whatever to give to your church. If your team wins, make a big hoo-ha about it. Get them tweeting about it on social media.
They did it 6-7 years ago. Manchester United were in Sydney pre-season. No, it was pre-season tour. State of Origin. Michael Carrick for now. We love rugby league well over there.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, Liverpool over. Robbie Farah's there. I love Liverpool.
Yeah. Do it. Just
crossover
But
appeal.
actually, do it to further their media career. Ask them to
definitely not Joe Barton. Why would you put him on the cover of a magazine? God.
Well, anyway, moving on. Yeah. But
the thing is, in the build-up to the game, Ferdinand goes down to the Wigan training ground and interviews a couple of players. Rooney goes down to Kirksall, interviews a couple of.
Probably not really interviewing, but yeah, I know.
But you would. You give him the questions. All they have to do is so, Jack.
Yeah, but I'm not being rude. Right? As a sportsman, we laugh at Scully how he talk. If you put Scully in with a footballer and had a chat with him, they would talk. There'd be a proper chat there about how do you feel in the dressing room, are you sick or whatever.
Competing on the bigger stage.
And do all that. And it would.
I've just watched your training session. I can't believe what you've just done for 45
But these are
minutes,
ideas we can come up with, right?
Which cost virtually nothing.
They're never happen. That's the annoyance.
I've some controversy from last week's programme. Remember Peter Wright, Snakebite?
Oh yes, Leeds fan.
One of the favourites to win the William Hill World Darts Championships.
Are you getting paid to say William Hill?
I wish I was. apparently, I'm told by an unknown source, he's a Salford fan.
Is
now
he?
maybe, and here's the thing, someone, maybe we could, the Premier League comes to a northern town, because that's where they mainly play, we could have Peter Wright as like the Payne Stewart of darts and have him just in the colours of the local Super League team every week. I mean, granted, that's Manchester, so he's in Salford. I know, I was sent that picture last week. What happened to that lad in the middle? When he goes to Liverpool,
we're looking at a dance
colours.
cross promotion of Danny Maguire and Zach Hardacre with the Super League trophy, showing it off to Peter Wright and Phil Taylor, who are holding one of the darts trophies.
Premier League darts trophy.
From 2015.
When Zach Hardacre won the Radio Yorkshire Sports Personality of the Year Award.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I hope he's still going. So yeah, we can have Peter Wright dressed up in different colours every time he goes to different ground. And granted, it is a small window of opportunity. Then when he goes to Sheffield, wear an Eagles shirt. Newcastle. Now it costs some money.
What, to buy the shirt?
Would it? To have him do his walk on in it? I don't think it wouldn't cost you that much, would it?
I don't know.
Would it cost you that much?
Mention that
I
money we
don't
spend on
think it
videos. I'd do it for a free shirt, but
Yeah.
So that was the darts.
Go on then, what did Genghis ask?
Genghis asked us about the Gang of Four, which is what we are. We have staged a coup at Red Hall, Salford Quays, and taken over rugby league in the Northern Hemisphere. What would your top 5 edicts be, and where would you imprison dissidents? Also, we've got it. We've got to use it for something.
I think the problem is also the walls are too easy to climb.
Is it if we put them in Ottawa, will that be in the Geneva Convention? Would it be against the Geneva Convention?
I don't know.
Is there a little island off the coast that we can put them in, like a
No,
Guantanamo Bay, and then there'd be
there's one in Whipsy Park. We could just leave them on there.
Yeah.
Might be a way through, but we could have someone with a rifle just to keep them in check.
Electric fence around it.
Yeah.
Back to Uncle Ken again.
Yeah. I'll get that bloke with his paw, he'll sort him out, won't he? What a guy, what a guy. Right, what would you do if you were in charge? What would you do? Come on, John. You're in charge. You are the new, I won't say you are the new
czar.
Ralph Rimmer, I mean,
You're
no.
the czar.
The new Morris Lindsay.
That's actionable. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mergers.
what would you do? Mergers.
Get rid of
start
Lee.
as we mean to go.
They've been burning effigies of John Davison within 3 hours.
I think they already are in Toronto, so it's alright.
They're down Toronto, Lee, everywhere else. No, right. So that's what you do. Is you merge.
I'd probably have 2 full-time divisions of maybe 10 clubs each, maybe 12. I'm not sure. I'm just talking off the top of my head, but yeah. Condense the quality instead of sort of having a watering down of 38 clubs.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. What do you do, Phil?
I think it's the same thing that we've been saying for years, that it starts with shortening the season. Everything starts with what do you want your...
Needs a lot more than just that.
Well, it does, but that's what it starts with, because you get the intensity, you get maybe less clubs, you start to plan with internationals at the top of your pyramid and less games so that you can play more international.
You've got to have a media policy though, whether it be like the NFL, where every player is put up, you can get anyone, they all let journalists in the dressing room, live stream every press, everything, just an open door
You've still
policy,
got to
and try and promote as much as you can. Because the NFL does it very well, don't they?
Watching and listening to. I think we've said it before on this programme that we're getting to the point where there is full-time and part-time, and I'm not sure that they'll ever fully mix again.
Yeah, I don't think.
And that actually, if you're a responsible sport, you sit down and say, right, what are we trying to achieve? What sort of investors can we attract? What do we want the sport to look like? And how do we make that happen? And if that means full-time goes in one direction, part-time is in another direction, but each is viable and valuable in its own right. And it's a concerted policy across the whole of the game, not we're looking after that bit and you're looking after it. Then I think you can start moving forward. The only way you'll do that is if you take, and it's difficult because obviously without the clubs there is no sport, but there has to be a point where you say to the clubs, this is your handout from the centre. That doesn't entitle you to run the game. we'll give you the fixtures, we'll tell you how many games you're playing, this is why we're going to have an international break, whatever it might be. You need the leaders to lead and not
That's
the
what
tail to wag the dog.
tried to happen 23 years ago, and couldn't push it through.
But in 1973, that's exactly what happened. And that was mainly because the clubs were desperate.
Yeah.
And they're now in a point where the very least they get from the television money as it stands at the moment pays for all their players.
Do you think in 3 years, though, they could be that desperate? Or 2.5 years?
Well, I don't think you wait till that point. I think that's where if you're a
But
responsible...
it won't happen unless they are desperate, that's the point, because
No.
they'll just vote it down.
Yeah. But again, I think if you've got a consummate leader within the organisation that
Which
can
we don't
sit...
have.
Which we don't
Well,
see...
Sorry.
from what you know, from what you said, and what you said
And you
there,
sit around the table and say, look, in 2 or 3 years' time, this could be you.
yeah.
But let's prevent that, and this is the
Yeah.
plan of how we...
I
We're gonna
don't think
approach
that.
it.
Well, I could be wrong, but I don't think that's
should we
happening.
not, and we've said this before, should we not have said, should Robert Elson not come in and said, right, this is what Super League will look like
Yes.
in 2021.
Yes.
There's going to be 16 teams.
Yep.
I'm opening up now. If you want to be in the 16, I want your applications in by X, Y, and Z.
But you have to have a blacker that's putting in £5 million minimum.
Or whatever. The terms can be thrashed
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as part of our global expansion, we
Yeah.
are going to have a team. Dublin are going to be in. Edinburgh are going to be in. Whoever else is going to be there will be in Super League. No, we're not messing. We will get the investor. These are the places. Everyone else, you're going to be part-time, but you will be well looked after under this umbrella. But it needs someone at the top to say, this is what it's going to
But
look like.
he's answering
As
to
it
the
stands,
Super League club.
Salford Hill Care on a Thursday night is the grand plan. That's how it. That's it. I'm sorry.
29 times a season.
Super League grand finalist Salford, I hasten to add. But that's what. Yeah, need to improve. Yeah.
You don't get many opportunities, if any, where you can almost rewrite your sport.
Yeah.
But we're coming to a point where, with a television deal that everybody is reliant upon, and a World Cup, almost that one moment in time where you can make change.
Yeah. I
But
agree.
don't wait until it's here.
Yeah.
Or
Do it
until
now.
it's past.
We do it
You've
now.
got to do it before and
Yeah.
say, here is the blueprint.
Yeah.
You can also link it too, because you can't ignore it with an economy that's not doing particularly well, and with a lot of northern towns, communities that are struggling. You know, that creates more pressure. If every town in the north and city was thriving, then there's a lot more money to be thrown at sport, sponsorship, etc.
Theoretically, no club, no matter who they are, knows what their budget is going to be in 2022.
No, they don't. There's
Therefore-
contracts signed. There'll be players under
Yeah.
contracts,
Yeah.
and there is no.
You think there'd be a
revenue
clause?
currently at
You
play
think
on it.
there'd be a clause
But that-
saying, "Well, if the TV did," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know
But
if
now
there
is,
isn't.
now is a very good time to get everyone round the table and say, let's paint a worst case scenario. You're getting nothing. Let's start from there.
Okay.
How would you start?
Rich, what would you do if you took over?
Ban
He's going to say kick Leeds out. He's going to say kick Leeds out. What would you do, Rich?
a lot of people.
No.
He'd redevelop Bellevue finally.
Plenty people have banned.
Build a 100,000
No, 100,000
stadium.
stadium.
If
If you live in the city, you've actually got a reserve seat.
the RSW, mate.
Wherever you are in the city, you can see it.
Throw some people off the hot.
You can see it from
Pay on
space.
your expenses, it'd be alright.
Ian says he's burning an effigy of John as we speak. I think because he said the M word. I do like Richard saying we should merge Leeds and Bradford. What can't we need?
Yeah, I didn't go to specifics which mergers.
Leeds Bradford Airport.
I would ban a lot of people who should be nowhere near our sport, and not the people think. On a serious level, well, I am serious about banning those people. I would put everything and concentrate everything into having a serious international game, because as we've seen in the past few weeks, here's the example: the BBC website covering the England versus Papua New Guinea women's game. Right? They've got no idea what the standard is. The general public have no idea what the standard is, but they know what internationals are. People care, in brackets, about the Six Nations because it's on every year. The pubs promote it. They don't know any of the rules. They do not give a toss about rugby union. They don't know any of the players or anything. They just got a chance to sing their song before the start and hope England beat Wales or Scotland or whatever.
Unless they're Welsh or Scottish.
Unless they're Welsh or Scottish.
Yeah, in which case they desperately ought to beat you.
Yeah. And they get an Eddie Butler point before because the BBC only know that. So, internationals are vitally important. We've got to do
Eddie
everything we
Butler's
can.
poems are good.
Once you've heard one though.
Cross Eddie Butler off the media list. Sorry, Eddie.
Oh,
Have you got a stamp? We're just going to get your stamp.
He's like Richard Nixon. It's Richard Shawright's list of enemies.
I would definitely be like Ken Bates.
It's like that Communards thing, you know, when I said the musical application, it just says refuse.
I've learnt under the tree of Ken, and I know exactly which people I ban. I'd be like banning everyone from the ground. No one's allowed in. So it's all about internationals. It's all about that coverage you can get from that. Because let's face it, and I got the point I was going to make about rugby union is people watch England versus Scotland or whatever in the Six Nations, England versus France. They don't care about Quins versus Sarries. They're not going to the pub to watch that, are they? No. Just like they don't care about Wigan versus Leeds, unless they have an emotional attachment to either of those teams, or like us, hate them both. You're not going to. The general public at large aren't going to go watch these games because they're not interested, because they don't have an emotional attachment. Whereas they do with England, they do with Scotland, they do with Ireland. It doesn't matter at the moment that Scotland, Ireland, and Wales may not be up to the challenge of beating England. Although having seen Great Britain on tour, that might not be too far away. Internationals. It's all about internationals. But the problem is, it's all right me sitting here and saying it. The people in charge of the game aren't going to go with that because we haven't got a calendar. We're paying someone a lot of money to sit at the top of the Rugby League the International Rugby League Board, but there's no calendar. They may as well not bother.
Yeah.
May as well just have the NRL front the RFL and say, well, we don't really fancy playing you this year, but we'll send the Kiwis over again. And the RFL go, all right, and you know, they can organise all the games in all the islands over there because they always do, and no one might as well bother.
Fair dues. Anything else happening on social media?
Alan says he reminds us of the Muppets, Statler and Waldorf. Bit harsh.
I don't mind.
Fozzie, Kermit, who's Piggy?
Yeah, that's a bit.
Curtin Ernie. That's right.
You've just been banned. By sure, right?
You banned Alan. I can ban you all. I can ban you from the. I can ban you.
He's getting the banning stick out.
I can ban everyone.
Have you said what you do?
Kick Leeds.
Resign.
I can't.
Resign and get a big payoff.
I don't know what I'd do. You know what? All of the above. All of the above.
It's great though because we can just say whatever we want. It's like politicians now. We can say whatever we want because we're never going to do anything anyway. We're never going to be in that position. We just need to be smarter and realise the modern world we're in. The problem is the sport is run by people of our age who don't live in the modern world. The world has changed. What are we selling the product to? Who are we selling to? We're selling to ourselves. Time to
converted to me.
Come on, Australia. We will.
Need to come under one umbrella. That is one of the things that has to happen sooner rather than later.
It does. Like I said, a huge pyramid. The Great Britain at the top, the four nations underneath it, the Super League underneath it.
The elite competition.
Yeah, down and down and down until you get at the bottom, hundreds of thousands of kids playing rugby league. Whether that's touch and pass or whatever else, it doesn't matter. Just get a ball in your hand and play. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'd take control of the Our League app and I'd make sure that they actually put stuff on there that people want to watch.
Okay.
Rather than just
this programme?
rather than just any old.
This programme gets more viewers than most of those games on there, by the way.
Here's a video with a League One player or a Championship player you're not that interested in.
Behind the scenes with Newcastle in a year that they didn't get promotion.
And they spent a lot of money.
And they're still spending a lot of money.
If they don't go
Not
up,
as much
if
as
they
one.
don't go up next season, you kind of go, what's going on?
England versus the other nationalities, says Penry. Well, it's happened before, and it doesn't happen now. This is the problem. Is that we keep going back to things that have failed in the past. The only things you can tell are England versus actual genuine countries, and whether that England squad is England, but it's really the Knights, but we're pretending it's not. There's not a problem with that. If you've got a slightly weakened England team out, and maybe the clubs would agree to that more than here's the strongest England team we can put out against Wales or whatever. But as far as the rest of the world realises, it's just England. They don't know. But the exiles, been there, didn't work. Just because Origin works in Australia.
Yeah, well, I'm with you on that one. There's a reason it didn't work.
It's a peculiar thing, Origin too. I mean, it's kind of, there's cultural differences. There's history there with the Brisbane players coming down to Sydney, and years of.
One of the things that Origin capitalised on was the fact that international competition fell away. if Great Britain had still been competitive,
Yeah.
Origin would not have had the slot
But
that it did.
it had always been played for decades
Yeah.
before that. It wasn't
But
essentially a new.
It's funny that it started being played about 1980 and it came into its own in 1982, just as we were starting to fall off the perch a little bit at international level. And the Aussies were going, we don't need to play Great Britain or England because we seem to beat them every year.
If England and Great Britain were winning,
yeah,
or regularly, then you go, well, actually,
that's the pinnacle of the game. But suddenly, we need something else. Well, we've actually got a rivalry. Let's exploit it.
And of course, I put Scully in charge of the Great Britain team just because for the laugh.
But insist that he only could have heritage players.
Great Britain manager Gary Schofield. He'd get all the tours like that.
He'd get his 47 cap, wouldn't he? I'm here to read out the team, lads. I'm here to read out the team.
Left hangers on.
I've only played for 10 minutes, but I want that cap.
And I genuinely would.
Awareness.
I genuinely would rebrand.
Smile, I'll play with a smile.
Super League missed the trick on this one because I keep saying it and it works. Well, we can do it as a sport and it makes no difference. Rebrand the Super League, the Betfred Men's Super League. Just one word that no one will use. I don't think any other sport's doing it apart from Saracens, I think, do it. Or Harlequins, I can't remember which one. It makes no difference in the real world, but it does. It makes everything almost equal, even though we know it's not.
Fair enough.
So the other thing that I might consider doing is look to drop the word rugby league and amalgamate ourselves as an affiliate of the NRL.
Oh, yeah, you said
NRL
this.
North. But I actually think that, particularly even for nations that are coming to the sport now and have a chance of maybe down the line making an impact, if you've got to explain who you are, you've lost that battle before you even start. And we live in a world again of everything's short and headline grabbing, and if you're NRL North, NRL South, you haven't got that word rugby. You don't have to explain who you are and why you're not something else. And people go, you can't do that. And of course we did it in 1923.
We did.
So nothing's new.
No.
Bring back the Northern Rugby Football Union. No one asks for that, do they? When they say bring back all these things. Bring back the Northern Rugby Football Union. Bring back line-outs. Bring back those pointless blokes, the fat ones. I'd be very much in favour of that, come like that a career.
Fair enough.
Who is going to be the person to take rugby league to the next level? Asked Andy. Could Perez do it? Oh, come on, Andy.
Is that
The
Andy
chairman of the second division team.
Banned!
Is that Andy Perez?
Banned! Banned!
I think the best quote I've read recently, written in a piece by Ross himself: "I'm not a normal human being."
Is your shoe businessman?
This is the man who said
Hashtag.
in 10 years' time Super League will be bigger than the NRL.
You said that 2 years ago?
Yeah.
You say
It's
I'm a
got 8
dreamer,
years.
but I'm not the only one. Look what happened to John Lennon. Well, what? We did. Imagines an
I
awful
don't think that were all to do with it.
I imagine it's a dreadful
Song.
song.
I don't think Mark Chapman's answer.
I think we need
I like the other March.
pragmatists as opposed to
Dreamers.
fantasists.
Action and vision as opposed to.
If I was in
Vision.
charge of the RFL, I'd tell the BBC to put Mark Chapman doing the Super League show every week, even if it cost more money.
He did do either a selfie or an Instagram pic with Sonny Bill afterwards though. And no as a journalist, you don't.
That is true.
No.
But he's not one of that.
Fanboyish.
Yeah, but
I
he didn't
agree.
go on the pitch of the grand final shouting into a microphone, forgetting he'd got a microphone. So
Good point.
when's the Super League podcast coming back? I'm just burning all the
Go
bridges
through
now.
to the keeper.
Burning
He
all
knows
the-
he's not here next week, so he's just getting
He's going out.
Yeah.
He's banning more
James says, which player from each team are you most looking forward to watching? I haven't got no clue who plays for Wakefield, James. I love the other 11 teams.
Alex Walker.
I think he'll go alright this year.
Mm.
Walker, good signing.
I'm really intrigued to know how Jackson Hastings is going to go at Wigan.
I think he'll rip it up if they let him
He's
play.
training hard, according to his Instagram.
I think if they let him play, he'll rip it up. He'll
If
rip it
they let him play. I think
I
it'd be
think
really
I think
interesting.
they will let him play.
So if they give him that team, it'd be really interesting to see if he can do with Wigan what he did with Salford.
if I were the Super League podcast, this is a serious thing. I'll get Jackson Hastings on the first episode and ask him, what went on then? Because they're not connected to the RFL. What went on? What happened? Why did it all go wrong? You were the standout player in Super League. You were the man of steel. You led Salford, pulled them up by the bootstraps, got them to grand final. What went wrong with Great Britain?
Assuming he never wants to play.
Yeah, if he wants to play
Well,
for
yeah,
England
next
next year.
so it doesn't matter.
You we know.
Are you sure about that, Rich?
No, we know. We know.
So if I was in charge of the RFL, I'd say, wait, man. I'd bring in Darryl Powell and Sean Wayne.
And Brian McDermott. It's a
The
trio.
The great triumvirate.
Yeah.
The Darryl Powell and the Sean Wayne who don't talk to us.
I'm also looking forward to seeing if Luke Gale is fully fit.
Yeah, he'll have a big year.
Because if he is, then again, like Jackson Hastings, we talk about halfbacks and how important they are. What kind of a difference could those two players make if they're fully fit?
I think Leeds won't be all that easy for Leeds next year, I think.
Top 5?
I don't think so.
Who is your top 5?
I'd say Leeds maybe around 6th or 7th, but
Not
I think
one
probably St Helens, Wigan, Hull,
You've already said Castle.
Warrington. No, they'll fight to deceive
I
as usual.
thought they were your outside checks.
No, that was Hull.
Oh,
Yeah. Callan disappointed me.
You've got
too.
one more spot then. Who's
Got
the
one
other
more
one?
spot.
Cass.
Okay.
Who else is in the
Toronto.
competition?
Toronto.
Maybe Callan's actually. Yeah, no, try him in. Toronto may sign another 3 quality players. I don't know exactly where the cap is, but if they start the season with 24 players, I can't see them making the top 5.
No.
Unless they play absolutely out of their skin and,
Yeah.
because it's going to be a learning experience when you're stepping up.
Course it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Does Phil not know what the R in NRL stands for? Oh, the L, in fact.
National.
Yeah.
No, we know what the N stands for.
Even though it's only
Yeah,
2.
but
It's
instead
only
of
3
call-
states.
No, the R and L, we're talking about the N.
Instead of calling it Rugby League, it becomes NRL.
NRL Europe.
Wow.
Well, we've got Toronto, haven't we? Yeah.
Northern NRL.
You don't hear anybody in Australia calling it Rugby League.
No, they call it
That's
European
true.
Super League. They always like it's gone to the European Super League. Oh,
Right.
it's got to
Come on.
retire.
Say it,
Is
come
that
on.
it?
Yeah. We've banned everyone anyway.
Yeah.
You're all banned.
We hate you all. Go listen to some other podcast next week. What are we going to do?
We're having a week off. The
Yeah.
first one in 5
What are we
years.
going to do?
Yeah.
Well,
We'll
we'll
be
be all
back.
here at 6
We'll be
o'clock
back
next
soon.
week. They'll be saying, where are you?
What were you doing at home?
But again,
Come on.
scarcity.
In your dressing gown.
In his cravat.
Get your banhammer. Get your banhammer out. Ban.
Banning everyone.
Banning all.
Judge Rich.
Thanks to John.
Scarcity.
Thanks to Phil. Thanks to Rich. Thanks to you for watching. Keep downloading the old podcast. Buy Phil's magazine.
Don't forget, it's the annual in December.
The annual.
Big,
The first one
big
that we've
special
ever
issue,
done.
Phil.
84 pages.
Look
Will be
out for,
available in bookshops as well as newsagents.
Wow.
Extra special feature
You're
on a certain subject.
expanding.
Look out for an expose on a certain team that everybody wants an expose on.
I thought you said an expose. I thought you meant a picture of Gary in his dressing gown.
Without his
I'm an
dressing
arsehole. Never mind. Right, is that it? We're done?
Yeah, I'm turning
Happy
off.
Christmas, everybody, anyway.
We
Right,
might
we'll
see
see.
before.
We might see.
We might do the.
We're having next week off.
We might do the late night special.
Yeah.
Podcast only.
You're banned. You're banned.